Sorry we're late. We shall get this Marty started. All right.
And Mr. Mayor, to report back from closed session, the council met to consider items 3A, 3B, 3C, and no reportable action was taken on any item.
Thank you, sir. If anyone wishes to address the city council on any item considered at this meeting before or during council's consideration of that item, please enter your name in the electronic kiosk located in the lobby. The city council will allocate up to a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker for each agenda item. Staff reports are available online at the city's website, cityofreading.gov, and in the public view binder located on the podium at the north end of the chambers. Have any public comment there? Oh, yeah. All right. We shall do the pledge.
Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Dan Conklin.
We bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussions, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture bonds of community. May we keep the focus on what's best for Reading in all matters. Lord, we pray for our first responders. Grant them courage when afraid, wisdom when they must make quick decisions, strength when weary, and compassion in all their work. We also pray for tonight for the crew of the Reach helicopter that crashed yesterday. Bless them recovery from their injuries and peace for them, their families, and colleagues. May you always bless Reading. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right. We roll call there?
Councilmember Audette,
Here.
Danuka,
Present.
Resner.
Present.
She said present.
Okay, she's present. Okay. Lata
Here.
and Mayor Munz.
Here. All right, public comment. City council will allocate up to a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker for 30 minutes total at the beginning of the meeting for public comment for non-agendized matters within the city's jurisdiction. The mayor will determine the order of speakers. If 30 minutes is not adequate to accommodate all of the individuals who have submitted their name to the electronic kiosk, the city council will trail this item to the end of the open session agenda. The remaining speakers will address the city council at that time. It looks like we have a few. Mr. Garner, you want to go first? Then Maddie Keating, then David Halligan, and then Steve.
Steve Bain, congratulations. All we want is honesty, integrity, and transparency, and I'm sure you'll provide it. I went to Transparent California about a week and a half ago, and surprise, surprise, the 2024 wages and compensation was up. And it shocked me. Barry Tippin got a $131,000 raise in his compensation in 2024. There were 5 people over $500,000 their total compensation. The first one was a police officer, and I learned a long time ago not to piss the cops off, so I'm going to skip him. He probably deserved it because they're shorthanded and he worked a lot of overtime. But the next 3 was Barry Tippin. His total compensation was $589.5. Well, we don't need to do that. His raise was $131. Nicholas Zettel, his raise was $135. And Ted Miller, his raise was $122,000. That comes out to $388,000, just those 3. So I skipped on down to page 8, and I saw police officers. And there was 5 or 6 there. Page 9 had some. And their average total compensation was $170,000. Now, you could have hired 2 police officers for the raises you gave these 3 guys. Did you consider that when you voted for these raises? Then the top 12, their total compensation, or their total raise in their compensation from 2003 to 2024 was $1,443,000. That would hire 4 police officers and 4 firefighters. I think your priorities are in the wrong place. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Maddie, and I am a Reading resident. I want to speak tonight about the stray cat crisis Reading is facing and ask you to take further action as overseers of Reading. A few weeks ago, I found a small, friendly kitten wandering around my backyard, likely dumped. I lured the kitten inside with wet food, having been taught the importance of socializing kittens so they don't become feral. Without my intervention, this kitten would have turned feral, begin reproducing, and further worsen the city's growing crisis. I called animal regulation through Haven, and I was told there was no room at the shelter and that I had to keep trying with no guarantee of a spot. When I asked for a list of shelters, they told me to Google it. Googling it did not provide a clear list of shelters, and after searching extensively, I found only one shelter who said they were also full. This showed me there is no clear intake support, no guidance for residents, and no system in place to help with kittens like this. Animal regulation also shared that they are at full capacity and doing the best with the limited resources they have. They started a free spay and neuter program, but it's already maxed out, having to turn away cats every week. It's clear that every neighborhood in Reading is overrun, and this issue has outgrown the resources currently available. As a good citizen of Reading, I have done my part with the stray cat problem, as I know many of my friends and neighbors have also done. We have used our own money to feed, fix, and adopt out these neglected cats. May I add, these cats were not feral, but domesticated animals that needed the help of a human. I wonder if these cats were dumped because other citizens didn't have the financial ability to do what I've done. Since living on my street for 3 years, I've rescued, fixed, and adopted out 4 kittens, not including this one, and 6 adult cats, all with my own resources, time, and effort. I've done my part, and now I'm asking for the city of Reading to do yours. This is a citywide issue, and many residents are already stepping up to fill the gaps left by a system that isn't working. I understand it takes a community to solve a problem, but those gaps should not continue to fall on the shoulders of citizens alone. We need citywide systems and coordinated long-term plan to address this crisis. Other California cities have found effective solutions, and I believe Reading can too. I'm asking for the city of Reading to take action and develop a comprehensive plan to fix this stray cat crisis, including allocating more funding to this problem, including TNR expansion and increased shelter partnerships, and launching a public education initiative to teach residents what to do when finding kittens and how to prevent reproduction cycles. I know that action on this issue is within the council's jurisdiction, and I am pleading with you guys to take tangible steps towards fixing this crisis, starting by placing this issue on a future agenda for discussion and planning. Thank you.
Just a quick question. Do we have a TNR program? Does anyone know? That is like
I do not know.
trapping and neutering the cats, because that's the only effective way. Do we know anyone knows?
Haven told me they don't have a team. What they're doing is that free one, and they could use more resources to send teams out there to trap.
So, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, David?
Good evening, council. Voting guides should be at your houses and ballots are on their way. I want to speak on Measure A. I don't see this as a sales tax increase. I see it as an investment of an extra 1 penny on the dollar for the city and our community. This measure helps protect Reading's quality of life by investing in firefighters, police, and emergency services. Fully staffed fire stations and stronger public safety mean improved response time, and that small investment may be the difference for you, for a family member, and your property in the case of an emergency. Funding new hires for fire and police, these are boots on the ground in our city, frontline responders. Also, This 1% investment helps fund the Sheriff's Department for the Alternative Custody Program, a win for the city and a win for the county. In addition, 30% of that penny on the dollar will help repair and maintain our local roads. Who's happy with our roads right now in the city? Right, nobody. But hats off to Public Works. I've seen some progress, some great work on the 44 Bridge area, as well as now on Hartnell Avenue. But there's more. Adding that 1% sales investment will improve youth sports fields and parks, improving safety, recreation, and property values. And this measure, Measure A, funds much more. Citizens, pennies do add up. Switching gears, will the investment revenue generated stay in Reading? Right now, too much of what we pay in taxes goes to Sacramento. Measure A guarantees every penny stays here, stays local, funding local needs for our families and neighborhoods and serving what we expect. What about tourists and travelers? They use our roads, emergency services, and parks. They buy gas, eat at our restaurants, stay in our hotels, and shop in our stores. This 1% sales investment ensures visitors, yes, visitors, help pay for the services that they use instead of Reading residents bearing the whole full burden. That's a big deal. How will the city stay accountable? Strong financial oversight with an independent citizen oversight committee and mandatory annual audits. Funds are legally dedicated to essential services like public safety and infrastructure. The bottom line, a safer, more affordable, and more prosperous Reading can start now. Checking the box, yes, on Measure A, will help protect our families, our homes, our schools, and businesses, and build a stronger community for all of us, our children, our grandchildren, and future generations. Let's invest in Reading. Let's invest 1 cent more on that dollar sales and vote yes on Measure A.
Steve, you're up.
Good evening, council, staff, and community members. Good to see everybody here. I think Dave just did a wonderful job on that. I don't think I have to speak to it. Other than I will say that 60% of the taxes will be paid by people outside of the city of Reading. So that's kind of nice. Responding to what Nick was saying on Barry Tippin's pay, if you open up Transparent California, his regular pay is $329,979. Then he has other pay that is about $2,800, which comes to a total of $332,848. Okay, then you're talking benefits and pension debt. Well, if you're looking at the massive increases that occurred, it was probably because the CalPERS, and I don't know whether PARS is still investing, you know, they're fading out and will be gone before long. But CalPERS, when they invest poorly, then the percentage of liability going to the city increases. So that number fluctuates. So all I'm saying is that's his base pay, and that's his, additional pay is like $3,000. So it comes to $32,848. And as far as the benefits and the retirement benefits, those are structures that were created, some of them back all the way to Mike Warren and his management. So those are structures that have changed over time and will not be as great a liabilities in the future. Okay, then the other thing I wanted to say was that I was kind of texting back and forth with Tanessa Adek because I had made some comments on there about the meeting that was on September 5th, 4 hours and 6 minutes into that meeting when Tanessa fought adamantly towards the pay increases. And now she seems to have completely flipped. And I said I wanted everybody to see that. Well, she said she'd like everybody to see it too. So I recommend that you go ahead and go to the City of Reading website, pull up the council meetings, and go to the September 5th meeting, 4 hours and 6 minutes into it, when she argued for the pay increases just very, very severely. I think without her, and certainly without her and Julie Winter, it probably would not have happened. But So anyway, I'll leave it up to the people. I can't say too much more on that. And I do want to wait and hear the response from the head of finances in Reading. I'm looking forward to that and the specific responses to her, mostly, I guess, AI-generated 150-page document. Thank you.
Go ahead, Erin.
Steve, I appreciate you mentioning something about salaries. I was just going to note that the state controller's website is the most accurate way to find salaries. The other websites are not 100% accurate, and oftentimes they are estimates because we are not required to give them specific contracts of every employee. So the state controller's website is the most accurate place to look for those in case you're looking up those later.
Thank you. Leslie?
Good evening. I'm glad Dan prayed for those here in Reading that were affected by that crash, because that was pretty terrible. One of the ladies is a big staple in our church, and I know this community, and she has prayed harder than anybody in this community for those she loves and cares about, so I'm glad that this community is praying for her. That being said, yay, down to business. Yes, please go back and watch all of the previous meetings, because she did vote for raises. She admitted to voting for raises, but she also said that she was given information, not given all the information, did not have a clear picture, and also apologized to the public for that, took responsibility, and has now been doing everything she can to right her wrong, take responsibility, and serve as a good leader moving forward, which I have not seen anybody else up there do yet. I know, Dr. Danuka, you were gone during the last budget thing, so I appreciate and look forward to you doing that in the future. I don't think this is the podium or the time to campaign one way or another for a measure, but since that's the direction we're headed, I run a media company. I wanted to have both sides on there. I begged to have both sides on there so that our community could be educated and make their own decision. I was told, oh, you can find the information online. Good luck with that. That doesn't tell me that we should work harder than them to get the information and vote that way. That tells me that that's not something I'm going to vote for. Also, I want to start seeing the people in these chairs make better decisions with our money before we give you more of it. So I say bring it back in a year, and then sure, we'll all vote for it. But right now, start managing the money better. Because like Nick said, you could have hired multiple firefighters, you could have hired multiple policemen, but we gave people raises where they're making more than our president to run the city. And guess what? They're doing a pretty poor job of it because we look like San Francisco right now. It's not a good thing. We have a beautiful city and it is being ran into the ground. I want to get up here and say nice, fluffy, happy things. There's not nice, fluffy, happy things to say. Also, I am looking forward to the finance director getting up here, actually presenting information, actually having the data he's been asked over and over and over for. I will be here front row ready to watch that, record that, get that out to the public because the questions have been very, very clear. And I know I, as a constituent, want to know where our money is going. Thank you.
Dr. Danuka?
Just to clarify the fact and for the record, neither me nor the majority of this council was there when these raises were given. So when you are saying that, anyone is saying, not you, when anyone is saying that I just want to set the record straight. I was not there in 23-24, and I don't think majority of the council was there for 23-24. That's all I want to clarify.
All right.
Well, the raises were 22. We do have one person.
Well, I'm just talking about 23-24 when I was not there. So that's
So you were not there.
Yeah.
Got it. I'll post on my, this is your time to talk in public comment, so I'm not going to make comments, but I will post on my page all of the links to those videos so you guys can see for yourself.
All right. Let's move on. Consent calendar contains items considered routine and/or which have been individually scrutinized by city council members and are anticipated to require no further deliberation. If a member of the public wishes to address an item on the consent calendar, please enter your name in the electronic kiosk located in the lobby before the consent calendar is considered. It shall be the prerogative of any council member before the consent counselor or calendar is acted upon, one, comment on an item, respond to a public comment on an item, request the record reflect an abstention or a nay vote on an item, and remove that item and place it on the regular portion of the agenda for delivery of a staff report and/or extended deliberation. Mr. Lata.
I'll need to recuse from item 4.1C on the consent agenda.
Okay,
I'd like to pull 4.1C.
one
Same,
more time.
I'd like to pull 4.1C for the regular calendar.
same,
Yeah,
same.
we have two that go in that, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve all other.
All right, Paul, do you have another,
sorry.
you want to say something, Paul? All right, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
And-
Aye.
Wait a minute, hold on here. There we go. All right. That is done. We are going to shuffle our order here just briefly. We're going to start with 9.15A. Consider the resolution approving the successor memorandum of the understanding with the Reading Police Officers Association miscellaneous unit. Ms. Skeebler.
Thank you. Good evening. Before the council is a resolution which would adopt a successor MOU with the Reading Police Officers Association miscellaneous unit. The proposed MOU would be for a term ending July 31st, 2026, approximately 1 year from the expiration of the current MOU. There are approximately 15 employees in this unit, and it includes property and evidence technicians, community services officers, crime scene technicians, and community work program officers. All of these classifications are within the Reading Police Department. There are no wage increases proposed as part of the successor MOU, and there's no fiscal impact associated with the implementation of this MOU. The major revisions of the MOU include increasing the vacation accrual cap from 400 to 500 hours, implementing state-mandated reproductive loss leave of absence provisions as required by Government Code Section 12945.6, which were effective in January of '24, renaming funeral leave to bereavement leave and including events such as miscarriage and stillbirth in accordance with the Reproductive Loss Leave Act, as well as cleaning up language for the death of registered domestic partners in accordance with Government Code. Additionally, we added language limiting holiday accruals earned to the average hours in a paid status the day before and the day after the scheduled holiday. Are there any questions I may answer for you?
No, but I'll make a motion to it.
I just want to say for the public to understand that, as you see, there is no wage increase. We are being responsible for the money. I can't speak about the past things, but I hope you do realize that we are being very responsible.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll second.
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now, do we take up the,
Consent.
say that one more time? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 9.1. Now we're doing 9.1D. Then we'll do the public hearing at the end?
It's a new order.
Yeah, so we're doing 9.1C. It would have been 4.1C and now it'll be 9.1C. And it'll be presented by,
We just did
What?
9.1C.
no, that was 9.15A. It was in
My bad, yeah. I'm
RPOA.
confused.
Now Michael Webb is going to do the presentation for four.
All right, Mr. Webb.
Yeah, and I believe that this is the one that Member Latav was going to step down from.
Yep.
My fault. Sorry about that.
Well, good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. I do not have a presentation prepared for you this evening, but I am available to answer questions, discuss all aspects of the staff report as this was originally part of the consent calendar.
Good. Aaron, did you have some?
I had a question.
Yep, go ahead.
It says item 1, a one-time payment to the general fund in the amount of 3.2 million for the Health Village project. I am wondering how we got to that number.
Great question.
Thank you.
Former City Manager Tippin and I met with Rancheria staff, Ms. Tracy Edwards, and a number of her team multiple times, going back 6 to 8 months or further ago, discussing multiple aspects of the project, one of them being fees for the project. As I'm sure council's aware, the Rancheria, being on their own property, sovereign nation, they are not required to pay impact fees. And so conversations occurred where they were asking for hypotheticals on what their project would be feed if it was in City of Reading property. And so I worked with, my team, worked with Rancheria staff regarding the project, received project-specific information, specifically size, intended use, and other information so that we could prepare draft fee estimates. And in doing the math, they had used that information to come up with essentially the dollar amounts that are included in this draft agreement before you. So specifically the 3.25 million, that comes from the traffic impact fee, if it would have been within the city, as well as the fire and the parks fees. As you may imagine, the traffic impact fee is by far the lion's share of that. It's approximately just over $3 million, with fire and parks just slightly over $100,000 apiece. You'll also notice that I believe it is item 3 in the fiscal impact, the slightly over $600,000 connection fee. That is for the Reading Municipal hookup fees, if you will, for water and sewer. And that is used by the utilities to fund improvements for upsizing and maintaining and improvements to the treatment facilities down the road that come along with new development. And then you'll also notice, under item 2, that there is a annual $100,000 fee to be paid quarterly, $25,000, to cover ongoing potential impacts and needs of that facility, with a caveat that when the strawberry fields are developed, that fee would go away. So in general, these fees were based on what their project would be feed if it was within the City of Reading, and then they have made this offer to you.
If I may make one minor clarification, I believe Director Webb had spoke about the 3.25 as being in lieu of the TIF. In the agreement, it's characterized specifically as payment in lieu of taxes, which is going to have a slightly different legal consequence in terms of its designation.
That was the question that I had too, was just about how you calculated that amount, because it's a 25-year program, so it's about $130,000 a year, or it's a 25-year agreement. So that 3.25 is about $130,000 a year, but based on traffic impact fees. So the reason that they're calling it a payment in lieu of taxes is that it is not going to go to your departments, it's not going to go to traffic or public works, it's coming straight to the general fund. Is that the difference? Is that how we're designating it is where that money actually ends up?
Yeah, the legal significance is that it would be unrestricted if it's payment in lieu of taxes. When you're negotiating with a government entity that is exempt from both your taxing power and your regulatory power, there's a little bit of question as to whether some of the funds end up being, they have no legal obligation to pay neither.
Right.
If they were paying for impact fees, that would be as a condition of a regulatory approval, which they don't have to get. If they are paying in lieu of taxes, that would be in lieu of paying the property taxes, which they don't have to pay.
Right.
And so where the funds end up is impacted by the designation at the time that it's received. At the same time, in some ways, I don't want to say it's entirely a fiction, but none of them are actually obligated to pay. They're all in lieu of something that would otherwise be paid, that's simply negotiated as part of a broader transaction.
So that's how it was calculated. That's the amount, but it's not going to go to your department. It's just going to come straight into the general fund. Now, this agreement doesn't actually come with the resolution as to where that money in the general fund is coming. So I assume when this happens, it'll come back to the council and we will appropriate where that money is going to go. Is that right?
That's my understanding.
Mine too.
And I would,
And it'll go into the general fund and we'll appropriate it accordingly?
Well, before it would be spent, it would have to be appropriated. I might look to Director Robinette as to how it would be treated in the interim.
So once the money's received, it'll be received into a revenue account. At that time, of course, we can amend the budget to recognize the revenue. Revenues aren't really a legal obligation for us to have council appropriate those revenues. It's simply a mechanism that would then increase the general fund ending balance unless council wanted to use that funding on something to expend the money over a year or over some period of time, whatever the case might be, then we would need a budget resolution to authorize the spending at that point, if that makes sense.
Are we going to have a resolution to receive and appropriate that?
We don't typically do resolutions just to receive money. If council directed staff to say, just hypothetically, we want to spend the money on XYZ, then we would bring a resolution using that funding source for some type of program that council would want to fund.
Perfect. All right.
If I may, just in terms of the lexicon, when we refer to appropriation, we're generally referring to an authorization by the legislative body to spend the money, not just to receive the money. So the money can come in without approval as long as there's some authority for it to be accepted or owed. But before it can be spent, that is when the budgetary action needs to occur.
Got it.
I have one more question. Did I understand that correctly, that you said the annual 100,000 service impact fee would end once they move to Strawberry Fields?
that is correct.
Because, I'll take
Go
a
ahead.
stab at it.
Go ahead.
Because currently, the casino pays, I think, 130, and then this facility would pay 100. So you're going to take one of them away if it moves over, because one of them would no longer be, well, the casino would no longer be utilizing, I'm assuming.
The
same-
138, the 138 goes away. This is adjusting to 100. And what they're saying
If they move. Okay.
is that when the Strawberry Fields are developed, that 100 would go away as well.
Okay. Oh, because the other one goes away also, automatically?
Nope. This is a master services agreement, which essentially is an agreement between the city and Reading Rancheria for Reading municipal utilities, water, wastewater, and sewer, as well as an agreement between the city of Reading's electric utility, REU, and the Rancheria's electric utility, RUCO, I believe, RRUCO, both for 25-year terms. So we are replacing the existing agreement, which right now has the Rancheria paying an annual amount of 138. So we're going from that to 100.
So the current 138 for the impact basic fee at the casino is now going away, and the two are going to pay 100?
That is correct.
Oh, I didn't understand that. Thanks for coming.
It's 138 plus 100.
No. No. Down from 138 to 100,
Why
and
are we reducing it?
That was essentially
have
why I
dou-
was
they have
asking the
double.
question.
yeah.
That is the offer to this body.
Because they're paying 3.25 upfront. Is that the reason?
That would be what my gut would tell me, that yes.
Yeah, because that's
they're-
about 130 a year for the 25 years.
Right. So it's basically, in effect,
Instead of
They're just paying
parsing
upfront.
it out, they're just going to pay it up front.
okay.
That makes sense.
They're
It's
making
it's a matter of negotiation, which I guess city team has reached and conversation with them, right?
Yeah,
So-
we'd rather
okay.
have the cash now than.
Okay.
It seems like a
Over later.
reasonable offer, provides a large amount of cash now, as City Attorney Christian shared, to the general fund, which I may add, you could give to traffic or fire or police, right?
Oh,
Good pitch.
we'll get to that for sure. Don't you worry. All right.
All right, no further questions.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion.
Did you say why Lata was abstained or why he had to leave? Did we say why?
It's not actually a political reform act conflict, so that's not part of the obligation, but I don't believe he did state.
To the public, you didn't say why he was gone?
Yeah.
No, he did not.
He recused himself, that's all he said.
Can I make a motion, to authorize and approve the following actions of the Tribal Council of the Reading Rancheria? Item 1, authorize the mayor to sign the master service agreement with the Tribal Council of Reading Rancheria. Item 2, authorize the mayor to sign the distribution utility service agreement with the Reading Rancheria Utility Corporation. Number 3, make a determination this action is exempt from review under CEQA.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously.
Somebody want to go get him?
Just call him. All right, we're gonna wait a brief moment. Wait a brief moment for Vice. He's coming in this way. Mr. Curtis? He was watching on his phone, probably. All right, 9.1D. Consider resolution approving the transfer of funds into the City of Reading General Fund. Jason?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. So the item before you tonight is a budget resolution that is doing a couple different things related to Stillwater Business Park. The first, we are asking that we transfer $550,000 from the city's Transportation Impact Fee Fund to fund a few items at Stillwater Business Park. Those items include right-of-way acquisition along Fig Tree Lane, traffic study update, amendment to our contract with Dock and Engineering. They are doing the design of the roadway extension, environmental studies and permitting, and of course, staff time. So this allows us to keep progress moving while we wait on the Economic Development Administration grant. And then the second part of this budget resolution is to move $2.8 million in property sales revenue to the general fund. The bulk of this property sales revenue is from two property sales at Stillwater. Amazon was $2.3 million, and then also Frito-Lay. Currently, property sales revenue is deposited into our General Capital Projects Fund. So this allows us to easily see the revenue in this account, and then also for tracking purposes. But then it also allows us to present an item to council like tonight, and then make an action to do something with it. And right now, we have no current use for this money. So we want to propose that we transfer it into the general fund. And we also have a council policy that says any property sales revenue is to be deposited into the general fund. There is a chance that we may need this revenue in the future as part of our match for the Economic Development Administration grant. And then we also have 3 properties at Stillwater in escrow. So we will probably do another similar item like this in the future. We recommend adoption of this budget resolution, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Councilmember Resner. Okay, all right, sorry, we'll start with Leslie. Okay, all right. Go ahead, Amy.
I want to make sure that at this moment, we are saying that we believe we only need the 500K, but that this money, while we're moving it to the general fund, will essentially stay earmarked for projects and development needs relating to Stillwater, or will?
The 550K is not coming from property sales revenue. It's coming from the TIF, Transportation Impact Fee Program. And this is just to keep items moving while we wait on the Economic Development Grant.
but we are moving
2.8.
Yes.
Did I am I totally
Yeah.
misunderstanding
Yeah.
that correctly? We're moving 2.8.
Correct. Moving 2.8, that's currently in our capital projects fund to the general fund.
I just want to make sure that when we move it, it's still going to be.
No.
No, that money is going to be.
Greg?
Okay, so what Jason is basically presented is that we would move that money to the general fund. At that point, it's open for any use council would want. If council believes that the best action is, what I'm hearing you imply, so I don't mean to put words in your mouth, is to keep it earmarked for Stillwater, is what I hear the implication potentially being, then I would recommend not making that transfer to the general fund and leaving it in the capital projects fund, understanding that this is akin, an action that's akin to that $600,000 that we had a discussion about not too long ago. And it might be good measure to have some kind of regular update where we discuss that money if it goes on for a year or two and go, do we really want to still sit over there? So council could do whatever they want with this. I think as staff, our recommendation was, or the recommendation was to move it to the general fund, fully acknowledging that it's this body's decision how they would like to either earmark that money for future use and or spend it or just leave it in the general fund reserve balance. The one comment I'll make is that the difference between leaving it in the capital projects fund and putting it in the general fund is accrual of interest. So the general capital projects fund would earn interest on that as opposed to the general fund. If there is no action, of course, that money would not be spent, just like I kind of referenced in the previous item we discussed.
I understand.
Sorry, say that one more time. I think I heard
If
you
there is
correctly.
no
If it's left in the capital improvement project, it can still earn interest.
It will earn interest
Okay.
for the capital projects fund, which of course we could just transfer that interest to the general fund later because it's the general fund's money. It's just in a separate fund.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I know we have lots of work that has to happen on Stillwater. So I definitely think keeping it earmarked in that account, especially since we have so much going on. I think, what is the estimate of work? Is it around 10 million that we're gonna need?
To the southern bridge, which is
Yeah.
just south of parcel 16, is estimated at $10 million.
Yeah, so all of these things we need to keep compiling that in there. Even if we got the grant, we'd have to match. There's a lot of work that has to be done. So setting that aside, especially since the sale of it, I do want to clear up so there's no confusion. 4.1B and 9.1D talk about the same policy but differently. So can you clear up for the record, sale of property, council policy is that we take it into the general fund, but as a practice, we typically put it into the capital fund. But technically, the policy that you've written in both say the opposite things here.
Yeah, I don't want to speak to I'll just
Well, we
explain what we've
looked up
done.
the policy together.
Yeah, the
So
policy
let's-
states that the property proceeds of general fund properties are basically properties that are not owned by one of our funds, means anything else, which is the general fund. It states that it will go into the general fund. What's
Okay.
happened as long as I've been here is we deposit the money in the general capital projects fund so that it's, I don't want to say earmarked, but so that it provides staff a reason to come back to council and say, remember, we sold this property and now it's for this body to decide how we would potentially use that, whether it be put it in reserves in the general fund, leave it there for future use, as you
Yeah.
just mentioned, or potentially put it in the general fund and spend it, which
Right.
has happened in the past as well. So it's up to the body, but the procedure has been to place it in the general capital projects fund so that it requires an action from this body instead of just going to the general fund and then it becomes part of the general fund and that's just part of the balance at that point. Sometimes
Yeah.
there's specific uses that have a higher priority, as in this case.
Yeah, and we had the privilege of having this conversation and arguing about it. And then there's two different definitions of what the same policy is. So I just want to, for the record, so we're all on the same page. I think the practice makes perfect sense. I think it's actually probably a really good practice. Maybe we should change the policy to reflect that better practice, especially for
Agreed.
better accounting and better clarity, which might be something that we should do and think
Yeah.
about doing.
I'm going to look at this interim city manager and say that we will work on getting that policy. I think it's a pretty easy update just to kind of reflect either what we're doing or properly reflect
Like we
the
could,
procedure.
yeah, clearly say it's general fund money, but we are gonna first deposit into capital before we bring it for use in the general, whatever. That way that there's no confusion
Yep.
about that. But, yeah, thanks.
All right, Vice Mayor Lata.
I may have missed this earlier, just if you can clarify, you talked about a matching grant. So how much is that dollar amount of that grant that we're going after in the fucher? Or how
So
much
the-
should we be prepared to match?
The grant's going to be $10 million, but our match was originally going to be, I believe, half of that, $5 million. But then we were recently notified by the Economic Development Administration that we qualify for an emergency, so it'd be 20%, $2 million.
So we're
So
gonna,
we are still waiting to hear back.
And what's our time? This is money that we'll need to have ready over the next 6 months to a year, 5 years later? What, like, do we just not know?
you won't know.
Hopefully next summer, by the time we'll hear back and be ready to start construction.
So I'll make a motion that we keep it in the capital account so that we're prepared for the Stillwater and not move it into the general fund, so that stays earmarked for what its use is at Stillwater.
I will second that.
Does that include appropriating the 550 for what they need
Yes.
that for?
Yeah.
That's from a different place.
I'm just making sure in her motion,
Yes.
all the things
Yeah,
were
that's a good
included.
point.
Yep, good point. You're right. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Mayor, if we
Yes.
could back up briefly.
please.
Member Audette's comment did jog my memory. I pulled up the specific statute for the type of recusal on the last item. There is a disclosure requirement, so I would recommend getting that on the record.
Sure, at this time, right now. Yeah. So I recused because of a campaign donation. That was the reason.
All right. Moving on. Oral report. Andrew. The airport manager providing the City of Reading Airports Division update. Information only.
Is that a 5-0? Did we all vote together on that last one?
The last thing we just did?
Is that a 5-0? Just want to document
Yeah, I think so.
it. Miracles happen.
That was a good point. I thought the same thing.
Andrew, I just want you to know that your budget gets lower the longer you talk, so just keep that in mind as you give this presentation.
Just trying to figure out the laser pen for when I get to certain slides. Members of the City Council, city staff, and general public, my name is Andrew Solzweig, the airport's manager. I'm giving you an update today about what's going on at the airport. This is just high-level stuff. There's obviously a lot else going on, but glad to share that with you today. So just a quick overview of what I'm going to be talking about. Developments at both airports, capital improvement projects, understanding what our airport capital improvement plan looks like, air service, as that's always an interesting subject, and then just a quick review of our budget. So development projects that we have in the works or soon to be in the works for the airport, we have the runway project as well as our parking lot. Reading Jet Center is finishing up their fuel tank project. Air Shasta is finishing up a lease very soon so that they can hopefully break ground as soon as able. And then New York Tribe are wrapping up that lease as well so that they can hopefully break ground next summer. For Benton, we have a taxi lanes drainage improvements project, which is in design phase. That'll take about 18 months, and then we'll look at doing that project once it's ready to go. We know that there's asphalt improvements needed severely, so we're looking at all of the options on how we can get that funded in time. And then some other concepts, Boneyard, which would be just kind of more of a social event at the dog park, and then other developments. So we are definitely busy. We focus on one project at a time or multiple, depending on what's going on. So the runway project, here are a few details about it. I know there's been a lot of information out in the news, but it's basically a little over $29 million project, of which the local match is $1.5 million, which is passenger facility charges. No local taxes or airport budget is used for that project. It includes resurfacing the existing runway, blast pads, runway lights, airfield signage, and improvements to safety area. So on the left here shows a little bit about how they're approaching that project and some of the areas affected with the main runway. And if you have questions along the way, please ask. Oops, excuse me. Okay, the Jet Center project, let me just make sure. Okay, parking lot project. This shows the three areas. We have the public parking area, car rental, and the employee parking lot. It's roughly up to, with just approval tonight, we had to increase this project just to get enough layer of asphalt for the parking lot areas, and that's going to be closer to 1.4 million now, which includes resurfacing, removing some trees, stubbing electrical for future EV charging stations, which would be held in the employee lot for now. We will work on a future project with the car rentals to look at their needs and what that might look like. And then what we're adding from the parking lot operator, of which just changed hands October 1st, is license plate recognition, which will allow us to keep track of every vehicle going in the lot as well as exiting, and it'll be a much more efficient system. Reading Jet Center, approximately $3.8 million, where they have installed new external fuel tanks. And then the next stage will be to remove underground storage tanks. That's state law that they need to have all of those removed. So that'll be next coming up. The Air Shasta and Yurok Tribe projects, this is just a quick rendering for the Air Shasta hangar that they plan on constructing, $15 million project in total. And what we are working on doing in their new lease agreement is taking all of their area and just putting it into one, and you'll see that in a future city council request. And then Yurok Tribe, we're working on the lease, and then from there, we'll see what their timeline looks like and get their design drawings. So racetrack is an important piece. We are slowly making progress. We do need to get a second appraisal and then a review of appraisals per FAA guidance. And then finalizing that lease language. That's one of the goals that I really want to get completed while working with all the clubs. So that is a continuation, work in progress, and hope to get there hopefully by the end of the year. Benton Field, talked a little bit. So I have highlighted on here, there's a blue area and then a green area. The blue area is where the taxi lane improvement project will eventually take place. Again, that's going to be in the design phase for a while, but it will make significant improvements to the asphalt as well as the drainage of that area where we have experienced ponding and just other water issues. And so then that will drain to the south into a catch basin. The green area is where the worst asphalt is on the airport. We realize that, we'd like to get it fixed, but it's gonna be a significant sum of money for us to even touch it because that area, due to the proximity of hangars, is not federally eligible for funds. So we have to pay that out of pocket or through our own budget to make those fixes. So as far as other funding projects, there's just a handful of other things that we're looking at, which I'll get to here in a little bit. So our airport capital improvement projects. This is an updated list that we look at with the Federal Aviation Administration. It's basically a 5-year plan of where we think we need federal funds, what are the priority projects. The FAA looks at things from runway to taxiway to apron to terminal. So basically, in order of priority. And what we try to do is work with them to figure out what funds we can allocate to in which year, based on what the FAA is estimating they think they can get us. Since we have a large project this year with the runway project, that means the next few years are going to be much less in funding. Now, what's good is we still have what's called AIG, and it's a different funding source, but we want to use all of those financial resources up at a period of time because they do expire. Whereas AIP, which is guaranteed money the airport receives each year, we can use that accordingly and save it up up to 4 years and then use it for a project. So when you look at this sheet, I know it's kind of busy, but it gives you a general idea of that we do plan about 5 years out, and we shift things around on an annual basis. That's important for the highest priority, that is best bang for the buck for the airport and the projects that we need to accomplish. So this list is for Reading, and then we also do it for Benton. We do not, so next year's project will be design, and then we have a year off to save up some funds so that we can get into construction, as well as security fence, which is needed for runway protection zone area. And then we can get that, looks like 28 is when we anticipate construction happening for those design improvements. It's unfortunate things take so long, but we have to have the appropriate funding in order to pay for these projects. Okay, master plan. I think this one is fun. This generally shows what your 20-year outlook could potentially look like. And what's important here is to just note that we do have future intentions of a runway expansion. Maybe it's 1,000 feet, maybe it's 2,000 feet. There is land that will need to be purchased in the future. We do anticipate shortening our crosswind runway, which would then open up what's currently in a runway protection zone to future development. That's where you see a lot of these yellow future hangars. Just seeing if this, okay, it's not working. Whoops, excuse me. And then just other developable areas and changes that we're looking at making in the longer term for the airport. So then this slide shows potential areas for development. Specifically, I'm looking at the green, non-aeronautical or potentially aeronautical, but there are parcels of land around the airport that we could look at for future development. Some of it is, could be future development for the commercial park, and then especially along Airport Road, there's some opportunity there. So what I wanted to point out here, it does show the future hangar development as well as terminal expansion, and then cargo and possibly parking lot expansion as needed and as things grow in time. This is another alternative, which I think is important, because if we were to look at a second runway sometime down the future, if things get so busy for the main runway, commercial-wise or otherwise, we need a runway for general aviation aircraft. And then what this would do is basically take the racetrack for developable area of aviation development areas or non-aviation related things. So we do have a plan. I think this is important. We put these plans together to look at all of the options as things grow and as things change. And then this is a closer up of that future development for hangars, as well as the terminal you can see on the right with the yellow expansion. That's just one option for terminal. We could reinvest in the existing, build new, or do a hybrid of both. This would be cargo expansion area. If FedEx were to expand and grow, they do have room for that. And then we do have more areas for surface parking lots additions, which could come sooner than later if we got additional air service in coming years. So something to keep on the horizon. And then air service. Now I do want to preface that the slides that you're gonna see are from a presentation given last March on our last air service conference that we attended and shared with the airlines. We are currently updating these slides because our next air service conference is the first week of November. And we're in that process, but it basically shows you some key pieces of information. These are the locations that we're currently flying to. And obviously Denver did start. Word on the street, at least for June, is we had 93% load factor. That is fantastic for the first month. For the public who doesn't understand load factor, 100% means everything is full. So having 93% load factor is very good. That route's doing very well, and we want it to continue that way. So, true market catchment area. And this is a discussion topic because airlines are always curious to know, well, where are people coming from? Where are they going to consider flying in and out of? This doesn't quite go up to the Oregon border, kind of goes down to Chico. Then you have the mountain ranges on both sides. That's a majority of where the flyers coming in and out of Reading are coming from. And of course, we understand people do drive to the Bay Area or Sacramento area. That's their choice, but we do want to get as many people from this area as possible for convenience. So traffic capacity and trends, this just gives you a general idea. The past 5 years, what that looks like. Our average load factor is above 75%, which is great. We want to get it closer to 80% or higher, because then since this is a supply and demand industry, the more demand we have, the more it's easier to convince getting more supply in other routes. Passenger-wise, we are, well, I'll just show you. Here's what our passenger enplanements look like. So we have exceeded pre-COVID already. We had a great year in 2022. I'm guessing that's when Avelo started. And then 2023 did pretty well. 2024 is doing fantastic, and we are trending to have something comparable between 2024 and 2022, even with October and our runway being shut down. So we had a very busy summer. I do want to put on the record that we had our busiest summer ever, and that's nice to see. So we hope all those folks will come back to Reading once we open things back up and continue to operate. Another key thing here is the top markets. We pay attention to the top 10, and our focus for this next session would be San Diego. We've already had conversations this past year with Alaska to see what San Diego may look like. They definitely have their eye on it. All the airlines are just curious how Denver's going to do throughout the year. But we're talking to the key airlines for these routes. We'd love to bring Burbank back at some point. Phoenix is on the list. Las Vegas is always popular for a variety of reasons. And it does surprise me how many people go to Hawaii, but I guess a lot of people on the West Coast like to go there. So we want to make those connections. We're having those conversations. It's a competitive market, and we'll just see what the next year looks like. But we're going to push hard for those things. Okay, give you an idea a little bit about what our budget is and the breakout of it. So the key categories here: personnel and cross charges to the city, operating expenses, fixed charges, capital, and then debt. So personnel and cross charges, I think, is self-explanatory. Operating charges or operating expenses is very tight. We've had to make cuts and just operate at the minimum level. I'd love to see at least an additional 50 to 100,000 in that category just to get us through our basic needs. That's an area I'd like to see increased in time. And then capital, that's more of our local share for capital projects and getting those larger projects completed. The debt increased because of the parking lot project. We had to take a loan from the city, and then those are showing the payments to pay that back on an annual basis, whereas we didn't quite have it in 26, it'll move into 27 for those payments. That makes sense. So any questions on the budget? Okay, and then some unmet needs. This is not the full list by any means. It just covers some of the larger ones that we could use and anticipate in the next 2 to 5 years. This is a summary, 3.9 million for those specific projects all added up. Needing new roof, there's another hangar that also needs a new roof that was not on this list. HVAC replacement as it's old. T-hangar improvements, the structures are just aging and we need to make improvements to them, along with equipment replacements. And then security camera upgrades is high on our list as well because we just have old equipment. So we're looking at how to phase that over time and get those upgrades as needed. And then Benton, again, replacement box hangers. Some of the structures at Benton are just very, very old, decades old. Maybe 50, 60 years. And so we realized replacing those would take a significant investment. Also adding security enhancements, electrical vault, and then asphalt being the #1 priority on my list. But there's definitely a larger list than this. These are just the key ones that we've identified. So with that, any questions? And thank you for the time.
Good job.
Thanks. I just wanted to say that I think that it's going so well out there. Recently, I had to fly, and obviously the Reading Airport is closed, and it is always so much nicer. I discussed with Mr. Bade today. It's always so much nicer to have a 10-minute drive home rather than a couple hours from the city. And one of the things I think is so exciting is that originally, when we started the Burbank and LA flights in Seattle, it was really common that I recognized everybody on the plane. And probably 50% of the time now when I'm flying in and out of Reading, maybe every 6 weeks or so, I don't know anybody else on the plane, which I think is because of that catchment area that you were discussing. And I just think it's really fantastic, and I'm so excited at the possibility of more options, and I can't wait until the runway is done.
Looking forward to it as well.
Well, great work. I do want to point out for the public that last column in your capital layouts, if you bring back that slide, will
For
be
Reading
nice
or for Benton?
For Reading.
Almost there.
Yeah.
There we go.
So it's kind of fine print, but you can see the city layout, local participation, local share is 0. And, right? So generally, there is no budget from the general fund going to the airport. It's a self-sustaining process, self-sustaining enterprise with, of course, federal government paying out. So I do want people to know that really right now we are paying out 0 from general fund. So thank you. I do have a little bit of question towards the Benton one. I do see Benton has some funding from the local share. So that's something which probably to be looked at. It's a minor one, but.
And if I could explain that real quick. So the fortunate piece of the Reading is we can collect what's called passenger facility charges, where we get a tax on your airline ticket by the airlines, those funds, and we can use those for those specific projects. There's a whole process, approval process by the airlines and the FAA to have that completed. For Benton, because it's a general aviation airport, we cannot do that. We cannot use PFCs as a part of our local match, and that's the reason why it's something that we need to budget for and plan ahead.
Well, there's no mechanism. We have anyone who uses Benton, can't we charge them any fees for that?
I'll be looking at that. I mean, we can always increase our rates and charges, which is something that we should do in time.
Okay.
But the other piece that is helpful is we get a state match.
Right.
So let's just say in this situation, 95% is federally funded. The 5% remaining, 2.5% of the percent would be covered by state match, and then our local match would be 2.5%. So it's still a very good deal, but we just have to plan accordingly.
I mean, I love 0, which you have done very well. So that's what I want to see here also. Thank you.
I just want to make sure real clear that the match is never general fund. So the general fund, if anything, it comes in just through our station number 7 and some of the variable costs associated with the operation of that fire station.
Oh, got you. Okay, thank
So
you.
otherwise, match is not covered by the general fund. It's covered by airport revenue.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your report, and it's very good. I just also want to say that I know you guys are negotiating the lease with Supermoto and the Kart Club and all of that, and those are, I know in this it looks like that's places where you may develop over the racetrack and all of that, but, you know, it's important, I know, to myself and to other council members that get worked out so that the kids can get back on the kart track, and that those groups that have been there and invested there can actually get back to actually operating there. So keep up the good work, and we appreciate it.
Maybe I should just mention also that for the benefit of other city council members, that I have met the airport manager along with some of those groups to discuss some of the issues which they are facing. And there are some devil is in the details, and a lot of those groups who are working there having some concerns and issues with each other, as well as in general, including the insurance issues, lease issues, and I can tell you that I have made it very clear that our intention from the council has been that they should all work together towards providing the opportunity for the community, and they should be working together, and they should be all playing nice to each other. So we have made it very clear, including to, whether it's from larger group or smaller group, but they should all be playing nice to each other. And I
Yeah.
know that you're working on making that happen. So thank you.
I think it's been almost 9 months since the cart clubs and the Shasta Meadow they haven't been able to use the facility at all. So I know you're working on all of that, so keep it up.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, next up, 9.2C, consider agreement with World Triathlon Corporation to host triathlon, which I think
That is.
Councilmember Lital will be participating in.
Let's hope. Hope that
As long as
number-
you don't ask me to participate, I'm fine.
You're going to be tribute for that.
Yes.
I'm hopeful all council members will try and participate. We'll see how
okay.
that plays out.
We are voting against that then.
Yeah, we are. So before you this evening is a request related to the World Triathlon Corporation interest in the city of Reading, and truly it's the Shasta County area, to host an Ironman 70.3 branded endurance triathlon. To facilitate the event, World Triathlon Corporation has submitted a host venue agreement that identifies the city as a lead agency and sets forth expectations for both parties, for both WTC and also the city. Pursuant to the agreement, the city would be committed to a 3-year term with the first event scheduled for August 2026, and then also in the subsequent years, 2027 and 28. The host is tasked with a number of obligations that include support services, personnel, security facilities, event coordination, permitting assistance, communications, parking, and in-kind services. Pursuant to the agreement, there are a number of tasks that are outside of the city's services, such as complimentary hotel rooms, ambulance and medical services, concessions, infrastructure equipment for electricity and lighting, laboratories, shuttles, and volunteers. To address these other services, staff is proposing to negotiate a third-party partnership agreement with Choose Reading Lodging. Beyond the city's and Choose Reading's commitments, staff has connected with Shasta County, the California Department of Transportation, National Park Service, also the Reading Chamber of Commerce, and then also Visit Reading to introduce the event and gather initial support. And to date, all groups are generally supportive, willing to assist and starting to analyze the impacts and feasibility of the event. Coordinating this event will be a big lift, and which will also require a number of city departments, other government agencies, and also community partnerships. If the host venue agreement is approved, staff plans to complete an event analysis to calculate the cost for services and project the fiscal impact, which we brought back to City Council for consideration. Staff is really excited about this opportunity to partner with WTC and Choose Reading to bring this top-notch event to our community. We continually market our community as an outdoor adventure hub, and this event will provide the opportunity for our community to showcase that we are that type of destination. This request includes authorizing the city manager to negotiate the host venue agreement with WTC, accepting the letter of commitment from, of financial support from Choose Reading Lodging, authorizing the city manager to negotiate a partnership agreement with Choose Reading to separate out all those services that are associated in that host venue agreement, and then also authorize the city or the mayor to execute the host venue agreement. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available if you have any questions. And then also Tim Bauer of Choose Reading Lodging is also here.
All right, Councilmember Audette.
Oh, do we have an idea of this cost, or is the partnership with Choose Reading going to cover a majority of that?
There will be a split cost. There is direct city costs associated with whether it's police services or even some facilities. Travis Mini is looking at all of the city facilities because these aren't small venues that they're looking for. They're hosting thousands of contestants. They need places to put their bikes, and they need the operators need places to put their event equipment and that kind of thing. So there's a large analysis of what facilities we can offer, or if they need to rent some facilities, that's where Choose Reading would come in and try to make that private partnerships that we typically wouldn't do. So there will be a cost. Staff is going to analyze that. Travis is actually heading to the Sacramento Ironman event, going down with Choose Reading Lodging, so you can get a better feel for how the event will, what the operation of the event is like, and understand how to help come up with some of those cost analysis numbers. So we'll bring that back. I would assume we're going to bring it back to the council by the end of this calendar year.
Okay.
So just to clarify,
Hold on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Vice Mayor Lata.
First, I just wanted to say I expect to come first in my age group on this competition, so I just want to put that out there. So I expect big results next year, so just be watching for me. Oh, I'm in. I'm all in if I don't drown first. So, we're going to use the Civic Center as the final stop. I think that's where it's going to finish. I know some questions have come up. Do we have any kind of contractual obligations of what we're using at the Civic Center? Just the grass, the parking lot, the building? Concerns come up that maybe the Civic Center won't be open next year. Does that impact us contractually to where we have to keep that open? So I guess that's just my question. What kind of facilities are we going to be using?
I think right now, whether or not it finishes at the Civic Auditorium, I believe it's going to finish in downtown Reading, right in front of Public Market is what we are anticipating. That's where the running route would end. But the Civic is, I think, a key location for some of the logistics. And whether or not they need indoor storage or not is to be determined. If it's not open and available, we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. But I know that they'll be using some of the parking lot and some of the grass areas. And it's right next to the Sundials, next to the Sheratons. There's a lot of amenities in that area that'll be utilized. If people that are watching are participating, I don't really know how that logistically will play out, but I know it's being considered. And so maybe some of the areas down by Benton, areas where there's large parking by the river trail, things like that. It's going all the way out to Whiskeytown Lake. So there's a number of facilities, entities that are to be involved with this to make it happen. Logistics are still to be determined a bit.
Okay. Now, Dr. Danuka.
So this resolution will authorize you to finalize the agreement and sign it. I would like to see the cost from the city itself to at least be known to the council before you actually sign the contract.
Okay. Before we sign the host venue agreement?
Yes.
Okay. I'll see how fast I can get that together. I just want it to be accurate. The WTC is anxious to market the event.
Okay.
And they can't market until we sign the agreement.
I see.
So that's why we were basically committing, but we also have a financial commitment from Choose Reading to back up what is upfront cost really on that. Their $200,000 plus commitment over a 3-year period of time. And then any other costs are going to be negotiated in the partnership agreement, how we split those out. And then, of course, it'll come back to us as basically staff and facility costs. We anticipate we'll get far more back in sales tax and TOT, but.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. I want to support this, but I think it'll be prudent for us to at least know what's going to be the city cost.
So
share.
I was going along those terms, but it sounded like it's rental, we'd basically be waiving the fee for rental facilities. For our facilities, we would be using staff time. So basically, we're not handing a check over for something, we're utilizing our
Right.
already pay
Services.
people,
Right,
so
I
it's not
understand.
cash out of hand.
But even that is some cost to us. So some analysis, I think this is Choose Reading offer is great, and I don't anticipate this to be a big cost to the city, but it will be prudent for the public to know that how much is the cost going to be. And I don't anticipate this to be high, so.
I was talking with some people today, and they suggested that every single hotel room would be full.
Yeah.
Yes, and my understanding is they'll be full all the way down to possibly Orland and
Yeah.
further north.
It's that big of
The
a
number,
physical.
it's a big event.
I don't want to delay this at all, but I think it'll be just.
It'll be a definite moneymaker for us. All right. Councilman Resner?
I'll make a motion that we
You done?
authorize it as it's written.
Yeah. I'll second, but go ahead, Mike.
Oh, sorry.
Sounds time sensitive to be able to get this done, and looking at the economic benefit with full hotel rooms. TOT tax, sales tax. I anticipate all that money that we get is going to more than offset some of our expenses. I hate to lose an agreement like this. I mean, those would have been good questions we asked before we come to the council, but just because of the time-sensitive nature, do we risk losing this if we don't pass this today, or?
Well, the pressure will be on us to get that budget number, that speculation of that number out as soon as possible. The sooner we sign it, the sooner they get to market. And I think, when I think about it, well, something like Cool April Nights, I think the city earmarks about $200,000 for something of, a week-long event like that. With this, I think it's going to be a little bit more than 200,000 because there's a lot is happening in the city of Reading, and there are requirements for law enforcement that are above and beyond a Cool April Nights event. So, I mean, I'm going to say it's going to cost somewhere around $250,000 to $500,000 in costs that will be associated with the city of Reading. Is my
I'm okay
guess.
with that.
But it's just basing on other events.
Okay.
It's the best guess I can do right now.
I shared this with staff today, but last year I happened to accidentally be in Coeur d'Alene while they were hosting their Ironman. And it is as you have all said, a intense economic driver for their tiny community of 60,000 people. It may and will likely be a heavy lift on our part personnel-wise, but I think that will come back. I don't want to speak and say threefold, tenfold, what have you, but I think that it will be extremely valuable to the city, also to highlight what we're capable of and the beautiful geography that we have. So I would like to request maybe that we approve items 1 through 4, but that maybe staff just send us an email after they're in Sacramento so that we have some sort of follow-up of yes, in fact, it does feel like it'll be somewhere between 250 to 500.
And we could do, Finance Director Rob Nett just mentioned that we could actually do an off-agenda, other type of city-funded events and bring those costs forward, just to share that, so what our past experience has been, and share that an off-agenda item, and then maybe bring
that'll be great.
a summary from Travis's trip to Sacramento.
We can approve this. I'm just saying they would like to see that. I'm in favor of approving this.
Go ahead, Greg.
So I can provide an off agenda to council so we have some context relative to similar events where we incur these types of staff costs. I did want to add, it's important to note, anybody that's on their regular shift, that's not a new cost. I think that was kind of what Councilwoman Adet was alluding to. So we typically only account for the increased cost of the overtime and things of that nature. So I think it would be useful for council just to kind of get a sense of what some of those other events cost. I think Steve's guess was a little high, but I'll provide something. Hopefully this Friday we'll get something out to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All in favor? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, so we're going to approve it as you guys wrote it, so that doesn't delay anything, but you are going to get back to us so that we're aware, so if there is some issue, we're ahead of it.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Got it.
All right. We have a first and a second. I seconded it, and now
Yeah,
we're
just to
voting.
clarify, we would have to have a budget item come back if we're going to have actual expense to the
Yes.
general fund. And
Yes, that is correct.
Yes, but right now we're
All
not
right.
doing
All in
that.
favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Excellent. All right, now, I'm a bit confused on the next item. So Shar, or do we go with JPA first, or Joe, do you speak first, or?
Yes, we're going to open the Joint Powers Financing Authority for this next item, and then there'll be one presentation for both the Joint Powers and the electric utility.
Yeah, and just before that, real quick, Mr. Mayor, I would suggest asking if there's any public comment on any off-agenda items that are specific for the JPA.
All right, well, I'll read this. If anyone wishes to address the Reading Joint Powers Financing Authority on any item considered at this meeting before or during the RJPFA's consideration of that item, please enter your name in the electronic kiosk located in the lobby. The RJPFA will allocate up to a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker for each agenda item. Staff reports are available online at the city's website, cityofreading.gov, and in the public view binder located on the podium at the north side of the chambers. All right. Call to,
We'll do roll call.
Yep,
So
thank
I
you.
have Commissioner Audette,
Here.
Danuka,
Present.
Resner,
Present.
Lata,
Here.
and Chair Munns.
here. All right. Do we do Pledge of Allegiance now? It's on my list. Yeah, it is on. Let's do it. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there any public comment?
There is no public comment at this
Okay.
time.
No public comment.
Joe's going to pray for us.
Oh,
There is
Mr.
a-
Bowers, you pray, and then,
I would
There
like
is
to
a
make a public
consent
comment about
calendar item
hosting the
first.
Olympics.
yes.
So there is a consent item to approve minutes. That's for
Okay.
the
Oh, that's
joint
right.
powers.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So I'll take it first.
I'll make a motion to approve items on consent calendar.
All right, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. And then,
4.2.
he's not here. Where'd he go? All right, 9.5A. Mr. Bowers, you're up.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, staff, and members of the community. Just as I guess, a preface to this before I get into it, I'll explain what a Joint Powers Financing Authority is, for those that maybe were not here in April when the utility issued bonds. But a Joint Powers Financing Authority is a legal entity formed under California law that allows public agencies to jointly exercise their powers, in this case to finance electric utility projects or potential projects. The RJPFA is a partnership between the City of Reading and the Reading Housing Authority, which enables the electric utility to issue notes or bonds through the authority rather than directly. And it allows for the efficient issuance of bonds at tax-exempt rates. So it's a vehicle that we use. Sacramento has one, Modesto Irrigation District has one, Roseville has one, so they're very common in the state of California. So I'll just get into this real quick. This works. Uh-oh. Hold on. Do you have control over it? Was that? Oh.
Maybe Steve can just point with his finger. Okay.
There we go. I'm good. All right. Thank you. So the basics of a revolving credit agreement. So for those in the audience that maybe run a business, it's akin to a line of credit that you might have for your business. For a homeowner, it might be a home equity line of credit that you have to just on your property in case of emergency. Say if an air conditioner goes out or there's a storm, you need to replace your roof and you didn't have insurance or something like that. So what this does for the utility is it provides on-demand financing with repayment flexibility. There's no hard maturities, and the interest rate for ours is made up of two parts. There's one fixed fee that we pay every year at 30 basis points for all of the undrawn dollars. The total amount of this is $25 million, so we pay about $75,000 per year for access to this if we do not draw on it. Should we draw on it, we would pay U.S. Bank, who is the creditor in this case, their cost of capital, which is the Bloomberg Short-Term Bank Yield Index, plus a credit spread. And in our case, at AA minus from Fitch, it would be 65 basis points. Today, I checked the rate. The variable rate would be about 5.25%. The rationale for the extension on this is that, like I said, it provides on-demand financing, an additional source of liquidity, operational flexibility of up to $25 million. I'll say minimal annual cost of 30 basis points, so $75,000 for immediate access to up to $25 million. I'll call it immediate, but I'll get into that later. It does require us to file some documents and work with counsel. The low cost of borrowing, a variable rate of 5.25% if we had to draw on it in case of emergency, to which we would then, if it was permanent infrastructure, it wasn't just a short-term cash flow issue, we would then refinance with long-term fixed rate debt at less than 4%. It does actually strengthen our credit rating, improves our financial profile by having additional liquidity, and then also provides event risk insurance. So at one time, because of the Carr Fire and then with the snowstorm the following February, we had outlaid $12 million that was eventually for those emergencies with mutual aid crews and emergency repairs to our system that were eventually reimbursed by FEMA. So it provided a bridge for that. There are some risks with this, is that the drawn rate is based on a variable rate index, so that could go up. I will say that that is mitigated and relatively minor because we do not intend to draw on this. This is access to liquidity if in case of emergency. If in case of emergencies, say there was significant damage at the Reading Power Plant that was above and beyond what was insured for us. We have $100 million, or the entire plant is insured for $400 million, but it's $100 million per event. So say it was $125 million of damage. We would access this to repair the plant, and then we would go through the 4 to 6 month long process to issue fixed rate debt to then reimburse it, so we would not be exposed to that variable rate for very long. It does provide budget uncertainty, interest payments, so if we did draw on it and we did have interest expense, that does exist, but we would be able to pause other capital projects. Keep in mind, this would be drawn on in an event, so at that point, it wouldn't be normal operations. We'd freeze some O&M, we'd freeze some capital to make sure we can make those interest payments in the interim. And then, like I said, right here, we do carry reserves that could absorb some of those short-term interest expense. It's not like we're running with $0 outside of this. Just to give you a timeline on renewal, we initially, and this is all in the staff report, but for those in the public, if you want to read it, we initially got this in October of 2020 because COVID. We shut off collections. Many cities, like the city of Anaheim, when Disneyland shut down, they are their largest customer, immediately drew on the entire line that they had because they had all of their bills for power, their people, et cetera, but their largest revenue source basically was shut off. When we did that, it was $130,000 of legal fees at the time, and we had a 35 basis point commitment fee, so we paid $87,500 annually. We renewed it and rewrote the agreement in May of 2023. The legal fees at the time were $10,000, and we were able to get US Bank, which is the city's bank, down to 30 basis points, so we were able to reduce that. We do get a preferential pricing because the city does bank with US Bank. And then the proposed renewal here, which is in the existing renewal from 2023, are forms that we can sign to extend it. We have agreed with US Bank to extend it for 3 years. Using the existing forms, there is no legal cost of extending because the forms exist and were already reviewed by council, both internal and external, and the undrawn commitment fee would stay the same. So in conclusion, this provides liquidity support, it's risk mitigation and rate stability. For example, we drew down reserves for our capital plan to issue bonds in April. We drew down our reserves near the minimum of our cash reserve policy, and we felt comfortable knowing that because if there was an event, we had the line of credit available. What that allowed us to do is issue for in the most efficient manner possible and capture as many dollars as we could. It is cost effective. Our position is many cities, our goal right now is 150 days of cash on hand. Many cities target, say, 225, 250. Our preference would be 150 days of cash on hand, of actual cash, 25 million, so that's about another 50 to 60 days of cash on hand, or about, I think it's about 70, maybe 65 days of cash on hand in this vehicle. Instead of saying, hey, city residents, let us sit on another $25 million of cash when your cost of capital is 7, 8, 9%, we can just pay 30 basis points, keep the money in our ratepayers' pockets. And the other thing I want to point out here is we do have access to $25 million, but to spend it and spend money on interest or spend money on a project, we would have to come back to council for appropriations. We can't just on our own create a capital project or start spending interest money without prior council approval. So while you are giving us the authority to have this in place, should an event happen, we would have to come back to council to get authority in effect to draw on it. So it's not just, a credit card you're handing to somebody right now, and saying, see you later. So with that, the recommendation is to approve the amended and restated credit agreement. These are the notices that are attached to the staff report. That will extend it through October 29th of 2028. The fee will stay at $75,000 as long as our credit rating does not change. In the document, it can go up by 10 basis points, so it could go from, say, $75,000 to $100 to $125, but that would mean that our credit profile is deteriorating, to which we have no intention of doing. And if it was deteriorating, there'd probably be a reason, which means we'd probably want to keep access to this. So the approval would extend it and then also authorize city staff or their designees to execute the documents. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Question, it probably takes a very long time to get a loan like this approved. This isn't something that we just did in one day or 30 days, but any idea of the time commitment, how long it took to apply and get something approved like this? Like, my thoughts are, if our credit is so good, you know, at first you'd think just go to the bank and they'll give us a loan tomorrow. It
Right.
doesn't work like that. But we could save a lot of money if our credit is so good to be able to go potentially get a loan pretty
this-
quickly. But I'm assuming this was a very long process and tedious.
Yeah, we identified this as a tool during COVID when we stopped collections. Part of the city's COVID response plan was not only canceling collections, but reimbursing everyone who had a customer service deposit with us, which is like $5 million. And the people that put those deposits on, you know, on file are people that are new or have a bad payment history and things like that. So we identified this, I want to say, in about April of 2020, and it was eventually approved in October of 2020. So it takes, you know, several months. Not only we went out to RFP for it because we want to make sure we got the best rate, and then there was a negotiation process, and then going through council and legal and all that. And I think I went back there. I think the number was about $130,000. That's external bond counsel that we use. So it was costly and took 6 months. So, and to your point, it's easy to get money when you have a really good credit rating, and they'll probably want to give it to you tomorrow. So that's why we kind of want to keep it. If our credit rating deteriorated, it'd be much harder to find people that want to loan you money for a cheap rate.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is we don't have that kind of time in an emergency to go get a loan because it would take 3
No.
to 4 to 5 to 6
No.
months for approval. And
We
and by then,
would probably
we're-
dial Director Webb because they're
Yes.
sitting on some good reserves too.
All right,
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
all right. We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Outstanding.
And then we do need a second vote for the joint powers.
Yep.
Yes, of course we do. All right. Make a motion for that one?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Now, we can move on.
And then
All right.
Chair, Mayor, then
Yes, yes.
there's one more item on the joint powers. If there's any suggestions for future meetings, and then there's adjournment.
Oh, just like regular, huh?
I have no suggestions. Anyone else have any suggestions?
No.
Any suggestion? All right. We are adjourned. Yes, right, as a JPA, right. I got you. All right, moving on. Okay? All right, thank you. 9.68, consider terminating financial assistance and lease amendment for Advanced Ratings operations of the Civic Auditorium located at 700 Auditorium Drive. Mr. Travis Minnie.
Now I can't turn it off. Okay, there we go. But we need to switch over PowerPoints here. There it goes. Excellent. Well, thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. So we are here tonight to discuss the financial assistance for Advanced Reading, which that group operates the Civic Auditorium. And so there is a little bit of a history that we will go through to discuss what we have done and why we are back here tonight. So previously, August 19th, council directed staff to return with essentially a grant for Advanced Reading to continue operations after the head of Advanced Reading, Julie Dyer, had given a presentation called the State of the Civic, I believe, in which they expressed some serious financial concerns over their future ability to keep operating the facility. And so after hearing that, council as an item 12 said, please come back and let's hear about some options and come up with a proposal to essentially provide them funding to keep their doors open. So they directed us to allocate the $675,000 to defer lease payments and to assign some CSAC, Community Services Advisory Commission members, to be able to rework that lease to where it would be more favorable. So we brought those agreements back on September 2nd, council authorized the mayor to execute the grant agreement, providing the total of the amount that is in the account that we were specifically referencing at that time, $675,445.57 to Advance Reading, as well as amend the lease to provide relief from the rent payments, which were $5,000 a month at that time. And that relief would extend until January 2nd when their rent payments would resume. Later, on September 16th, council directed staff in an item 12 to return with this report here for discussion and consideration of options, if any, at this meeting, its next meeting, regarding the terms and conditions of both the lease and the grant agreement with Advance Reading. And so as a little more background, we'll go over the grant agreement, the lease agreement, and I'll give you an update on everything as we go along. So the highlights of the grant agreement is that it had a one-year term, which would expire in September of 2026. We went over the total grant amount. The payment would be made within 30 days of executing the grant agreement. The 30th day of that time period is actually tomorrow. Only the expenses shown in the exhibit attached to the grant agreement would be eligible for reimbursement or use of the funds. The grant requires a 30-day, or the contract requires a 30-day written notice of any termination by the city for cause or without cause. The grant also requires a closeout report after all of the funds are expended. And upon termination of the agreement, any funds remaining that Advance Reading did not use would be returned to the city in full. The deferred lease payment, so that would be the amendment to the lease. So we executed that on the same day as the grant agreement, and that $0 rent payment is in effect until July 1st, 2026. After that, on the 2nd, it reverts back to the existing contract, and that would be a $5,000 a month payment at that time. As far as the ad hoc committee, so at the very next CSAC meeting, we, on September 10th, we appointed 2 members to look at that lease and develop terms that would potentially be more favorable to Advance Reading. We have yet to have the first meeting, but it is scheduled for mid-October. And as a discussion of options moving forward, so there are several options on the table for each of these agreements, and some that are not. And so I'll go through each one for the grant agreement and for the lease amendment as we see. And please do note that if there is alternate direction given, this is not the exhaustive list of options. You could actually modify any of that, provide any direction that you would like. So for the grant agreement, you could leave it as is, which is the terms and conditions that we had already discussed. You could terminate it with or without cause, which does require that 30-day notice. You could renegotiate the grant, change the terms, and I believe that would require Advance Reading to come to the table for that renegotiation. And you could also, again, provide alternate direction regarding the grant. For the lease amendment, the big options here are to leave it as is. You could renegotiate, which you have actually already directed staff and the Community Services Advisory Commission to start that process. So that is underway. You could provide us alternate direction, but what you cannot do and what is not on the table is termination of the lease amendment or the lease itself. Because of the specific way the lease was written, there is no termination clause except for by breach or by default on behalf of the operator, Advance Reading. And so our recommendation would be to accept the report and provide direction to staff on what you would like to do moving forward. And I am available for any questions. And I believe Julie Dyer is here representing Advance Reading as well.
Leslie, are this the one you're going to talk on? Yeah. Okay, yeah, all right, you can go ahead. And then we'll bring you back up, Travis. Pardon me? Yeah.
Okay, so how this came about to kind of bring it back, I mean, I appreciate Dr. Danuka's questions when we first talked about this, wanting to know what else could be changed, wanting more information, maybe we're jumping too fast. When this got asked to be brought back, it almost felt like a oops, I got caught with my hand in the cookie jar moment, and seems kind of, I don't know, shady-ish. My concern as a constituent is we're giving them free rent till January. Then we're giving them 10 times the annual rent for the next year in a grant. Okay, I understand that. Meaning they're putting money into the facility, everything they get is income so that they can put it back into the facility. That's what we're looking at as an agreement. Where I have concern and where I agree with Dr. Danuka on wanting to take our time, really look into this, make sure that we put some safeguards into it, is we do things like this, jump into agreements like this, have somebody like what happened with Big League Dreams jump in, supposed to make changes, supposed to make fixes. They don't do that. They jump, they run out, then we're stuck with the bill. Or we've got the situation at the airport where people who have been there for years and paying, and being good tenants are now locked out and somebody who's unrelated has access, and it's a mess. I don't want to see that happen with the Civic. If there are people who are coming from the community to host events at the Civic should be something that makes everything better for our community. If they're hosting an event there, I don't want it to become a cool kids culture club where some groups are gonna get treated well, some groups are gonna get treated different. And I wanna see safeguards because basically we are giving them the money as constituents to pay their bills. And then we should be treated as if that is our money being used. And I know that there are people who either just recently had events or are working on events who are maybe not being treated that way because of some preconceived notions, and I don't want to see that happen. I want safeguards in place, and I want you guys to slow down when making these types of decisions because it's us paying for it, and we want nice things, and we want those things to happen, but we cannot just throw money at the wall, hope it's going to be fixed, and then not know if there's any safeguards. So I think that just needs to be made very clear. If we are paying you your rent plus 10 times your rent, you are to treat the constituents like they are the ones footing the bill because they are.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
So one is the financial side of it, that we need to be good steward of our resources and we have to be cautious in how we spend city's money and give the money. But the second part you mentioned concerns me a little bit. You said that people are not being treated fairly and equally. I would encourage you to let us know, City Council know about that if that's what is happening. Well, I called you about that. Right, but formally.
Any questions for Travis? Vanessa? Anybody? Pardon me?
I have a question. You said that because it was part of the decision that was made when that money was decided and approved to go to them, one of the other points was that lease needed to be renegotiated, which you said you're in the process of doing at this moment. Is there a possibility that we request as part of that lease agreement that they pay the city back for that money if we don't shutter them in January?
Certainly, we could take whatever direction you provide and work that into the agreement. Ultimately, the agreement comes back to council. And so should they be able to, if you want to, the grant is a grant, and you could modify that agreement. It would require them to come to the table. But if you wanted to work something into the lease whereby payments, your rent payments were higher or some type of other mechanism was employed to where you eventually get the funds back on a more spread out basis and you kind of amortize that throughout the life of the lease or something, you could certainly do that and we could work that into the agreement. Again, it requires them to sign that agreement. Right now, there's no mechanism for us to change it without working with them. So if they were willing to engage in that conversation, certainly.
I would just like to have something of that effect included. In this situation, it felt like we made a decision. There were certain facts about financial dealings with Advanced Reading that were not made privy to the city council or to city staff, that were only found out online. And so in this, but it was 5 business days between when we said yes and when that was executed and we agreed. It's 5 business days. September 2nd, it was approved, and by September 8th, I counted today. It's 5 business days between when that was executed.
If you'd like me to comment on the process, so basically when we bring you a contract, the best practice is to have it ready for signature for the mayor at the next possible moment that they can come in. And so I'm sure you've all, and your time being mayor, have had a big stack of papers to sign when you come in. We try not to hang those agreements up, and it's really just something that expedites that process. So yeah, it was not expedited, but that's the process, is to have.
Yes, I'm not frustrated that staff did their job. I am merely saying the next time in which this council can decide that, or bring a topic up during an item 12 or discuss an item, is during the next council meeting, and this was executed in 5 business days. So essentially, kudos to staff for doing their job, but in this situation, it felt like we weren't given all of the information that we should have, and neither was staff. Go ahead. And so I would love if you could entertain the potential of, if they're still here after January, that they potentially pay that fund back.
And certainly when we bring the agreement back, we can have that in there if that works through negotiations, and we'll just keep you informed of that process. It'll also be going through the Community Services Advisory Commission. So as we go through that process, we'll know that that is something that at least you are interested in, and we probably need some full direction from the council. But when you see that agreement, we can see if that's something that the whole of the council wants in there.
Vice Mayor Lataw.
Clarifying question, were you asking for them to pay back the entire grant or just the portion of what they donated that came into question?
No, I would like the entire amount. Essentially, the Civic will the Civic will not be in operation if a sales tax is not passed. That is why I'm assuming that they made that donation of $50,000 to the sales tax initiative. My issue is that we're going to likely need that $675,000. So if a sales tax happens to pass, and that's what the citizens decide, that they want to keep facilities like that open, then and there is money, then I would like that to come back to the city so that that can continue to be saved for the things that need to be done to the asset that we own.
Doesn't it become a loan then? We give them a grant, then
I
we
suppose.
change into a loan.
I suppose.
How does that work?
They
I'm
could
just
agree
asking whether or
to
not they'll-
whatever in their lease that provides a mechanism for that, and you could do that in any number of ways by withholding a set amount from whatever tax allocation they would have in the event that it passed, or you could have a higher rent payment that would eventually make you whole, and that could be the terms that you put forward in that contract.
So the money is spent. I mean, we've looked at the list of what they were going to use it for. When we allocated this grant, we could ask for the money back for any unspent money, but they will simply come back and say the money's been spent.
No, I'm not saying
so-
right now. I'm saying that the reality is that the 675 was a Hail Mary to keep them open until through the end of this year, because this council cares about the Civic and this asset that we have. And we believe the community cares about this asset as well. I am saying that if they all of a sudden have funding, that I would love there to be some sort of mechanism in which that money is made whole to the, refunded, whatever language we want to use, made whole. And it's so that we can use that money to do the things that we are required to do and the upgrades that we need to do as
So
well.
if the sales tax measure fails, I mean, they obviously will not be able to pay it back, and they might be sunk anyways, so.
No,
are you-
I mean, if the sales tax fails, the lease negotiating that we're doing at the moment doesn't matter at all.
So would your motion or recommendation or request ever be to say it's contingent on the sales tax measure passing, and then we would ask for the money back?
I am saying that if staff came up with some sort of mechanism, I believe that staff can do that in their negotiating, that should there be a funding source for the Civic, that the city be made whole.
What kind of term would you be agreeable to as far as are you talking a 1-year
I
payment or
think that
2-year, 3-year?
I think that staff can come up with some ideas and come back to council of how they feel is the most fair based on their negotiating
So
I
you're
don't
s-
think that that's something that
So you're
the
saying
council has to
leave
decide
it as
right
is
this minute.
now, but have a mechanism for January 2nd
Mhm.
to be able to pay the loan back or be able
Begin
to-
some sort,
some sort of,
just
yes.
to make the city whole if there is a funding source. If there's not a funding source, then we have a bigger problem and we need to figure out how it is we can shut our facilities.
So if I may, the first meeting with CSAC and Advanced Reading is in mid-October, which is about 2 weeks away from when we would know if there would be any supplemental funding for operations or maintenance of the Civic Auditorium. Our promise to you is that we would bring a refreshed lease agreement in December, so we would have time to evaluate that situation in between those two dates, to know what we'd bring you back. Either we wouldn't be doing much, or we'd bring you back kind of another Hail Mary agreement, like you could do this, or we would have the actual mechanism to repay the loan if that was something that we could all come to the table and agree on.
Okay.
So we have options.
Why don't we go to RFP before we shutter the building? Why don't we-
Yes, but.
We
it's
would
highly-
most likely,
yes,
if
that would be the
we
next
were no
step.
longer in an agreement, we would issue an RFP as, again, another Hail Mary approach. There's not a lot of local expertise in anything like that, so you'd be looking at sort of going after the big regional, commercial groups, and none of them, from what we understand, are going to come to the table for free. So we'd be basically in another type of the same boat, where we are paying someone to come do this because it is a service in this industry, essentially to run those facilities, because they're not generally making a ton of profit, and they're more of a community economic stimulus, TOT, and community culture type of thing.
Which we don't have money to do. We don't have enough money to pay someone.
Well,
So
does
yes,
it-
we'll be
that's an-
sending it out to RFP.
It's an interesting thing if it's a TOT driver. I'm wondering if part of our TOT proceeds could go towards paying them to run it at the Civic. I mean, if that's an option, it should be an option for them too. So is that being discussed in the CSAC meetings, that if we change it, that we could actually pay them to do it?
That would come under, from council direction, so many communities use TOT for TOT driving, uses, like, so if you're going to invest in things that people want to come do as a way to eventually get more TOT on the back end, like you could invest TOT revenue into your Ironman event, knowing that you would get it on the back end, or you could invest it into your Civic Auditorium or your trail system or your Sundial Bridge, knowing that it is a huge tourism driver. So yes, it's common for communities to do that, but TOT is, I believe it's a discretionary fund that generally supports general fund expenses.
There's not an extra $1.2 million in the general fund.
You would
Well,
have to
there's
reduce expenses
There's actually
somewhere
an extra
else.
$3.2 million that's
For-
coming to the general fund. So I'm just curious if it was, if you'd have to put it out to RFP and part of that would be that we're paying, that means they would have that same opportunity. And is that possibility going to be discussed in CSAC? Because it seems like that should be on the table if that would be the option if they don't continue. I mean, I'm assuming that would just be part of the discussion. It doesn't mean you have to land on it, or we would have to vote on it, but if that is the other option, I mean, it should at least be on the table for them as well.
Yeah, you could at least give that opportunity to Advanced Reading as well. If you were prepared to make that decision, or if that was an option that would be viable, you would say, hey, we can keep this going, but we would then provide some operating funds for you. And if that wouldn't work, if their organization could not continue with what they were doing or perform the way we needed them to perform, and the agreement dissolved, then you would have the option for the outside group. But until they default, breach, essentially walk away from the agreement, we would be partnering with Advanced Reading for these services.
And then, just for clarity, the request when this came back was, can we claw back the 675? That if it wasn't spent, then it was a possibility to go through the 30 days. It's been spent. That's what's.
Right.
I mean, the public doesn't have the staff report.
The
Right.
check's been issued, so what they've done with the funds is kind of on them, but
Well,
you
it's
could.
on the back of the staff report. I'm assuming it's spent. That's what it came back to. That's what I thought.
Yeah,
was
that
gonna-
was the agreed upon expenditure plan.
Oh,
So
but it
they can
hasn't
only
been
spend it
spent.
on those, and most of those are backdated, so they're reimbursements of existing expenses. So they can certainly do all of that. They have 30 days from the notice of termination in which they can kind of do whatever. Any funds after that, you could reclaim. So even from today, they still have 30 days to spend that money And as long as they've complied with the grant, there's no recourse to take it back.
But have they spent it? That's, I thought what we were gonna be told is if they'd spent it or not.
Mr. Curtis?
I don't know if we know definitively whether or not they've spent it. We wouldn't get a full accounting until the end of the termination period. And at that point, they'd have to refund whatever was unspent.
So you
But we
could still vote.
promised it, and essentially, I've been told, because I asked staff that last time, it's not a possibility. The amount of money that they put in the staff report that says what they're going to spend, and we've already, you're saying we haven't handed them the check? We have handed them a check.
We have handed them the check.
This is a good question, because I'm confused a little bit.
Yes.
So we could right now say, okay, well, here's your 30-day notice. Whatever you haven't spent in 30 days, we're taking back.
And in the meantime, they can spend every dime as long as it's on the approved plan and we have no recourse.
Correct.
And,
Right.
you know,
But you could
per-
do that. It's not, that is the option.
That's
It
correct.
isn't, yeah, it's an option. It's certainly counterintuitive to what was voted for.
I'm just saying it's
Yeah.
a little bit, that would be a silly thing based on the number that they asked for. They allocated what they are going to use that money for, which spends all of the money.
Yes, yes.
And I don't believe that they're,
I mean, but the public's not looking at this, so I'm just saying for the public's benefit, that's the discussion, is can you claw that back? And why can't you?
And-
So, just for purposes of clarity of what we can or cannot do.
I will just note for any members of the public that want to take a look, it is on the podium there in the back of the room.
Okay,
So we cannot claw it back.
you can, whatever, yes.
You can if they have not spent it in 30 days
yeah,
Got it.
I mean, you could.
from the notice of
And you don't want to do that.
termination.
No, they're going to spend it. My issue isn't whether or not they're going to spend it. My issue is that they didn't disclose a handful of those things to staff or to council.
Yeah,
So we're gonna leave it as is, but we're gonna put into the future agreement payback or whatever. we
if the
decide.
sales tax passes, you want a refund on this.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
But-
would the
Hold on.
refund,
but,
I'm sorry.
but why wouldn't, okay.
It's okay, go ahead.
I mean, would the refund, I don't understand the accounting on this, maybe Greg would answer this, but would the refund come in the form if the sales tax measure passes, like we would almost be withholding
Yeah.
the money in the first year and saying, okay, nothing goes to the Civic Center, does money just exchange hands? Does it go to them and come right back to us?
You would have
proceeds?
options,
That'd be silly.
and we would probably present those options at that time, but they'll probably, we'll actually lay it out in the lease, how that would work. It could be a lease payment. It could be that you would just issue the sales tax as you normally would, per the law, once, if a sales tax were passed, and then they would make a payment back in their rent payments or some type of structure that we establish in that agreement.
Yeah.
So that would come before you in December if we meet our target to bring you that lease.
Yeah, so the part I'm trying to clarify, what is the council feeling, like, are we wanting to do this to punish them because of a contribution, or are we doing this because of a regret of a bad decision? And that's what we're circling back to. And so, I mean, feels like that's one of the two things that's really there. We're trying to either punish or we have regret.
Well, I would
Which
like
one
the
is it?
money for police, so that's my motivation.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, there's one other thing. I don't know that this would make a big difference, but there's one other way it may be potentially relevant, which is if Advanced Reading does go into bankruptcy, having some sort of debt on the books might be relevant in terms of the portion of its assets, if any, that the city would receive.
You're continging it on the sales tax, so.
I'm just saying I'm making it contingent on there being funding, because without them having a funding source, whether that's the general fund or a sales tax, they need funding in order to pay it back.
Yeah, I thought that was clear. I thought you made that clear.
So we're voting on leaving it as is now and letting Travis and CSAC work out the details.
Yeah, we don't
Okay.
have,
No,
we
and
don't
I-
have a motion. I just made a request
Okay.
to staff. It only is from me. I think that some of us, given all of the information, potentially would have made a different decision. And that's okay. And yeah, there are other things we could use that 675 for, lots of things. So, that's all.
All right. Thank you, Travis.
Mayor, I have a question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, as the one person who did not vote for this grant and wanted an alternate plan with maybe a smaller lifeline and contingent upon them coming up with a sustainable plan, I would like to know a couple of questions here. One, and if you don't have to answer this, Julie, have you spent this money or not so far? And it's entirely your discretion if you want to say yes or no or not speak. I mean, you can just say yes or no, or you can say that, yeah. No, for you, this is only one question. That's all.
So the way that the terms in Exhibit A were drafted, those are expenses that we're being reimbursed for things we've already spent. So
Okay.
yes, the funds have already been spent.
Okay, that's it. That's all I had for you. Thank you. So what I see here is there is a little bit of buyer's remorse here, right? That council made a decision and they're having a little bit of remorse about it because they didn't have enough information. I don't see that should be whether they made a political statement of supporting someone or not, or a measure or not, should not be a criteria for us to punish them or anyone else. And the future speculation about how the lease will play out or how the funding will happen should remain in the future to be decided. And at this point, there is no way we can claw back this money, so there is no point of us entertaining that. I would certainly remind everyone that when we spend the money in the future, we ask some tough questions and be cautious about being good steward of it. And I say that with great respect for Advanced Reading and for the role this venue plays in our civic life. But still, we have to be good steward and we have to ask tough questions in advance before making the decision rather than having the regrets later. So that's
I would just like to point out that you didn't actually vote no. You abstained on this topic, which means that you didn't go against what it is that we were saying, that there is a distinction between voting no on an item. We had a miracle that we all voted 5-0 on a topic today, so I'd like to point that out. It's fantastic. I wrote it down as a note. 10-7, pigs flew. But that there is a difference between abstaining on a topic and then coming back and saying, this is what y'all did, and you didn't actually vote no.
right.
against all of
I'm
us.
not
That's
blaming you
just
guys.
the-
Only thing I'm saying
A little
is
bit.
no,
A
no,
little
no.
bit. Which is fine. Some of us, with all of the financial information that we could have had, may have made different decisions, which is actually a great thing to be able to say, had I had different information or all the information.
No, with all due respect, I didn't mean to offend anyone. Only thing I'm saying is that I just wanted to say that my plan would have been that give them a little bit of lifeline now and ask for contingency that they come up with a sustainability plan. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to blame you. Really, I'm not trying to blame any one of you. So I'm sorry if I.
My direction for staff would be that if there's money somewhere that we could be using for things, that you let us know. Maybe during the budget workshops when I'm asking for 3 cops for $480,000, this would have been a great source of funds for that. But I'm glad that we covered it all. But did you have a question?
I just wanted to point out one thing, that our funds did not contribute to that donation. And I think that we just haven't quite made that clear, but our funds are not backfilling that. They are not associated with that. And I think that we kind of owe them that our funds have not commingled in that way, that those were their funds, these were our funds, and they're only for the purposes in Exhibit A. And I don't think anyone's saying that, but I want to say it's definitely not that.
I don't know what that means.
That the donation that they made that is of
Oh,
concern.
oh, oh,
Yeah.
oh, yes,
I'm not
yes,
saying
yes,
anyone's
yes,
saying
yes.
that.
Okay,
I'm
sorry.
saying
I didn't
I want to be abundantly clear that they are not commingled.
So the 675,000, none of that went towards the donation, is that what you're saying?
That is correct. They are only
Yeah.
for the expenses in Exhibit A.
Wow. I didn't know that.
My source of issue is the first time being told, this is for civic money. That's how I understood it. Second time, no, it could go to other things, which happened at the last second of understanding that. So my interest in this was not because of a donation. Mine was because if we have funds that we could have been using to keep staffing for the police what it should be, then I would like to reappropriate it to that. If it's spent, it's spent.
I think the intent of that money was to always leave it as a one-time expense for the Civic because of the ongoing battle of the air conditioner when it goes out someday being a $5 million
No,
expense.
yeah,
And
we all understood that.
to spend it on cops would have actually added more pressure on the general fund as far as ongoing expenses. I don't think we would have been able to fund 3 cops in the budget and then looking at the 10-year projection and building that out. So we did have an opportunity to take that money as a one-time expense, and we did spend it on the Civic, and we left it with the Civic. And
Well, we can agree to disagree on that.
yeah, I just think that's a good one-time spend, so.
To me, it was abundantly clear that we could have spent the way any way we wanted, not necessarily for the Civic.
Yeah.
That was abundantly clear to me at that time.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Council's discretion on that funding source.
We move on. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you. Do you have to vote to accept the report?
Nope.
No.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Last but not least, thank you, John, for hanging out for the whole meeting. 911H, Mr. Webb, consider groundwater transfer and facilities cost-sharing agreement and emergency intertie agreement with Bella Vista Water District. It's a mouthful.
It is, and good evening again, Mayor and honorable council, staff, colleagues, and members of the community. I'm going to wait just a second for Shar to swap us over, but while she's doing that, it is truly my pleasure this evening to be before you and present this. There's been quite a bit of hard work put into this from my staff, of particular Josh Watkins, water manager, who's in attendance today, as well as the general manager, Mr. David Coxey from Bella Vista Water District, and a number of his staff. This has been something that we've been working on essentially from day one of my tenure here with the city, so that's approaching 2 years. And it's taken us a little bit of time to get there, but it is very valuable in my opinion. So this evening, I'm going to provide a very brief presentation regarding the groundwater transfer and facilities cost-sharing agreement. But to be clear, the recommendation before you this evening is for you to authorize and allow the approval of this agreement, authorize the mayor to execute it, and then also find that this is exempt from review under CEQA. So with that, I will jump through. So first, a brief little background. So what we see here is we have a map on the right-hand side of the screen. And this map depicts a number of things. It depicts the purple line, which encompasses the Enterprise groundwater subbasin. And then you'll see a green line that depicts the northern portion of the Anderson groundwater subbasin. Those two subbasins together make up the Enterprise and Anderson groundwater basin. You'll notice a yellow line that kind of runs around through there. That is the current City of Reading city limits. And then you'll also notice in the upper right-hand portion of the yellow line, a dark purple filled-in area that represents essentially the area within the City of Reading where Bella Vista Water District serves City of Reading residents. There are approximately 3,000 Bella Vista Water District city connections within that area. Another important thing of note, Bella Vista Water District service area is generally located inside the groundwater basin, but most of their facilities are located on the northern end of that, where production is lower than typical, as well as quality of water requiring extensive treatment. And you'll notice that the City of Reading, we're located in both, and we have the ability to obtain quite a significant amount more water from the groundwater basin. You'll notice on average, we're averaging about 11,000 acre feet, where Bella Vista is somewhere in the 500 acre foot range. Moving on, just a few tidbits here. Currently, right now, Bella Vista's water district policy is that new developments of more than 4 units will be conditioned to augment the district's water supply. And essentially what this means is that for a new project of 4 units or more, they need to bring water to the table, which is a very hard thing to do. But I would be remiss if I didn't point out that the district has that policy for very good reason. Because from their perspective, their two water sources, one, the surface water from the Sacramento River, and then second, the aquifer, they do not have the same rights and privileges and abundance of water that the city of Reading does. And in times of severe drought, most recently back in, 2020 to 2022, we learned that the Bureau has essentially changed the game for water. And there are scenarios where the district could receive zero water from the Sacramento River, which would force them to rely solely on their groundwater wells, which I explained on the previous slide, are not the highest of producing wells, and they're also very expensive water because it needs to be treated. And because of that, and them wanting to ensure that they can provide adequate and quality drinking water for their customers, they've implemented policies like that in the future, or to date. So one of the actions that I was tasked with was to work with the district and enter into a new agreement, because the previous agreement was terminated in 2023 as a result of the changes in how the Bureau distributes water in a severe drought scenario. So council may recall that the city and Bella Vista Water District executed a non-binding letter of intent almost a year ago now. It was the day after Christmas last year. And Mr. Coxey and I have been working pretty extensively since then to find a way to take those, the language from that non-binding letter of intent and turn that into an actual agreement. I am also pleased to announce that a couple weeks ago, September 22nd, at the district's most recent board meeting, they unanimously voted to authorize Mr. Coxey to enter into that agreement. Great news, and that's why we're here this evening, is to recommend that you authorize the mayor to enter into that agreement as well. In summary, how the agreement works is Bella Vista Water District will have the ability to pay $2,375 per acre foot of water. Now, what that does is that is very similar to a fixed charge that our customers may see on their water bill. So essentially, for $2.375 million, the district is reserving the ability to purchase up to 1,000 acre feet of water annually. And the intent is that as they buy into the groundwater system, then they will have the ability to actually purchase water from the city at the commodity rate of $500 per acre foot when they actually need it in times of drought, to support development that may occur within the city of Reading limits, as well as within the Bella Vista Water District service area. So it has always been Mr. Coxey's and my intent as well to remove water service as a barrier for development within this area, and we feel that we've found a way to do that. So with that, I am available for any questions that you may have. Mr. Coxey is with us this evening, and I'm sure that if there's a question for him, he would entertain answering.
Mr. Cook, we'll let him chat, and then you can come back up, Mr. Webb.
Well, Mr. Mayor, City Council, thanks for all that you do for us. I just wanted to take the time to make a couple comments. We hear a lot of negative things, and this agreement has been quite the agreement. And I just want to compliment Michael Webb and his team and David Coxey for coming together. When Michael Webb came on board, I think we met probably one of the first couple weeks he was on board with this problem, because although, and by the way, I apologize, Jack knows who I am, but I am John Cook, Director of Capital Projects over Bethel Church and the construction that we're doing out there. So, and I'm also a City of Reading resident, and I am in the Bella Vista Water District, so I'm affected by this. So, But I just wanted to say that as soon as Michael came on board, he really formed a great bridge with Bella Vista. And the two of them, David and Michael, came together and have been working on this agreement that has been really complicated and directly affects us because we can't go forward with construction until it's done. So this is a big deal for us. This is a milestone for us for the next phase of our construction. So just wanted to thank you guys for what you've done, and good job.
Thanks, John. Councilmember Danuka.
So, just to clarify, sorry, just to clarify, I think you mentioned it verbally, but written report doesn't mention this amount of water extraction, water transfer is annual, right? It's not the total, right?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The written report mentions the amount of water that they can purchase, but it doesn't mention annual or total. So you mentioned it's annual transfer, right?
Annual, up to an annual 1,000 acre feet.
Okay, so it's not just one time. Okay. The next question I had was, so Bella Vista Water District has other area too, which is outside the city limits. But our city benefit is that we want to promote developments in our city limits. How will you allocate and make sure that our area benefits? And I'm not saying that other areas should not benefit from it, but I'm just wondering, what is the mechanism to make sure that most of this water actually stays available within the city limits rather than in your district outside the city limits?
So one of the main areas of the agreement is that by the district and the city entering into this, when new developments come into the city of Reading within the overlap area, so again, within the city of Reading, but also within the district service area, that the district will provide them a will serve letter. So essentially by us providing this source of water, the district has agreed that when those projects do move forward, they will provide them a will serve and the projects will be able to move forward. We anticipate that it's hard to say how often that the state will be in a severe drought situation. The likelihood is, if you look at history or recent history, we're probably talking in a 3 out of 10 year period. So our anticipation is that this agreement is used predominantly during those time periods, because just like us, the district has abundant water during times like this year, right, where all the reservoirs are full and we've had a very good wet year. The issue is the drought years, where the district could be cut down to zero from its surface water supply and have to rely solely on its groundwater.
Right, I understand that part. My question is, once we transfer the water to them, they could theoretically at least use all that water outside the overlap area. So what is the mechanism to make sure that it is for the benefit of that overlap area, not for the larger district they have?
So a couple points of clarification. The district is not going to just simply receive 1,000 acres.
No, I understand, but even the commitment.
Yeah. So what will happen is it is very hard to track the water molecules once they actually leave our system and go into theirs. And it became very difficult to do that. And the easiest way to tackle that issue was to simply say that we're providing this new source of water. We expect that as development occurs within that overlap area, that it will be allowed to move forward and they will ultimately receive a will serve letter. Historically, what happened, because again, the district's water supplies are very constrained, developments struggled to find a way to bring new water to the table on an individual basis. There aren't very many agencies or ways to go purchase water. There's only a few folks around. There's us, ACID, and McConnell. And so it becomes very difficult for a developer or a single project to go secure that. So our goal was to do this from a broad stroke perspective and provide that source directly to the district at the most reasonable price that we could provide. That way, then they could issue the will serve letters. And if it turns out that during the period of a drought, that water is needed, we're not necessarily concerned exactly where it goes as long as it's being used appropriately.
No, let me reframe my question to exactly understand
Do
this.
you understand your question?
So, no, actually, let me just ask this question again. Theoretically, what if they have multiple projects coming up in the wider district area, which is outside the overlap area? What if that limits their capability to issue this letter to our area? So I know you cannot track the water molecules, but could you have a mechanism to say that our area will be given a priority, or some of this commitment will be reserved for our overlap area? Does that explain my question better?
A little bit. So the next steps that are going to occur is that Mr. Coxey is going to work with his team to figure out how they're going to implement this. Because I think you're pointing out that there are a number of things that now need to happen on the district side for them to figure out how they're going to take this water and plan for it. And Director Pagan and I are working with with Manager Coxey and his staff to help get there.
Okay, that's what I would like to see, that some kind of commitment in that.
So can I ask one
Yeah,
question?
go ahead.
So maybe to help rephrase one of your questions or maybe think a little bit, all this water is going to be really needed in a drought year. Is there going to be enough water left over to help for future development? Or are they going to need all of this water just to serve their current needs and there's not going to be enough and we're going to be in a stressful situation for future development? No.
I don't think we're in a situation where we're running up against the water wall, if you will. And another thing that I should point out, this really is a first step. Mr. Coxey and I have discussed that hopefully this is a good first step in this agreement. And as development continues to occur, if we find that we're using that and we've approached the wall, we will have discussions about a subsequent agreement or changing the terms or increasing the amount that we could transfer annually to the district. So we feel this is a good place to start and that it makes sense and that it removes the barrier that we have right now within that overlap area. Yeah, and Water Manager Josh has something he'd like to add.
I'd just like to add, there is language in the agreement that requires Bella Vista to report on the annual basis how many lots or the size of the development and the associated volume of water that development is going to take. And so we have this reporting mechanism, and we'll be able to track that up to, and we expect that whether it's single-family housing or commercial development or whatever the development is, it's going to allow essentially 1,000 acre-feet of development to come into that overlap area.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
I just want to say thanks because I was at some of those board meetings for this water, and so I know that it was quite a process because they also want to protect their residents in that Bella Vista area. So you did a really good job of figuring out how to make it beneficial to everybody. So thank you for figuring out a win-win for everyone. So good job.
All right. Motion?
I'll make a motion that we authorize and approve items 1 through 3.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously.
Another 5-0.
See, twice. Thanks.
All right,
Great, let's look
council
down.
travel reports. None?
We're leaving tonight. Well,
We are?
early in the morning. Dr. Danuka and I.
Oh, item 12.
I've got one. So thinking about the sales tax measure A, there's a couple concerns I have with it. It brings up some flaws, but I wanted to see if the council might be open to coming back with either a resolution promising to do something to change, say, council policy to make all the public safety allocations with fire and police as additional and not supplanted in any way. I think that's important just to build any kind of trust as if that.
I don't understand what you're saying.
It would mean that the way it's written right now is possibly means that we could make cuts to police and fire and supplant that with the additional 1% that comes in. And that's, I don't think that's really a great intent. We should, if it does pass, we should be spending additional money and not padding our budget, so.
No, he's saying, that, let's say, I'm just gonna use makeup numbers. Let's say there's 500,000 that comes in according to whatever their percentages are. 500,000 is what comes in and is supposed to be allocated for police and fire. Let's say that the budget for police is $1 million, that we would now have the budget for police be $1.5 million. Rather than cutting 500,000 and moving it over here and keeping the budget at $1 million for police.
We just did cut 1.5 million from police. We already did that in the budget, so, I mean, and also you can't make that promise, like, by the time that it comes in, if it passes, by the time the money comes in, by the time it's actually actualized and budgeted and all that type of stuff, like, another council will be here and they could change, like, so that's, you're promising something that is misleading, because you can't perpetually do that.
So we can discuss that later. I just wanted to see if we can do
don't
either a
think we should do
resolution to change council policy if it does pass, because I think that's really important, that that's something that we do
I don't think that's
get done, so.
appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it doesn't interfere in the current ballot, I'm open to passing that resolution to make a commitment towards that.
I'd say we wait till it gets here.
Yeah, I don't think that's appropriate.
But I think there is,
At this point.
I'm in favor of bringing it back for a conversation next time so that we can vote on it. If you do decide to do that, to pass such a resolution or not.
I mean, that
I
could be
don't see any harm in that as long as we are not changing the current ballot.
It's just misleading to the public. 'cause
Well,
it would
that is a
assume that
discussion.
it would
That's a
ass-
discussion we can have
No,
next
that's
time.
just a reality.
That's a
It's
discussion
not
we
a
can have next
discussion.
time.
That's not up for debate.
So-
That is the
So
truth.
right now, I'm hearing two with interest in bringing it back. Is there a third?
I would be interested in bringing it back. What I'm hearing, I believe that I'm saying yes to, is you want to have a resolution saying that the intent of this council is to make that money additional,
And then
and
change
then our
council
intention
policy.
is
It wouldn't,
not
What do you
to
mean?
be.
Yeah. So we are not debating the policy right now. We're just saying, should it come back for discussion?
is what it
This
would
is
be.
item 12. And item 12, we are not debating, it's not agendized. Only thing we are saying is we should bring it back for discussion.
so you're, for no action, just discussion.
Discussion and resolution if
you are
needed.
bringing it back for action.
If needed.
Well, you're
And
bringing it back for action if you say
People
you're
can
bringing it
vote
back.
yes or no against. I have not made up my mind for it, but I think it's a good
It-
conversation to have.
It assumes that the public will then assume that that means that can stand, where
No,
this sales
I-
tax
I
lasts
think-
forever. You can't
let's
make,
not,
you
let's
can't
not
make it-
assume, let's just bring it
think-
back.
I think we have the
Can't even
direction
do
to bring the
that.
item back.
Yes.
I do want to be careful about the
I
debate.
think I'm unclear based on what the three folks are saying, what it is that I'm saying yes to. What
Mike,
it is
why
I'm
don't you
saying
repeat Mike?
yes to. And so now I feel like I'm gonna go with Mayor Munns, and I'd like to approach that topic. If there happens to be something that passes, who knows what's gonna happen on the ballots this year.
Okay, so I'm hearing wait then?
Yes.
That's, okay.
So I have a couple.
Go ahead.
So I had spoke to Greg about getting the monthly cash reconciliation reports every single month. And I want to clarify that you guys are good with getting the cash reports every month.
No, we said quarterly.
No, that's a quarterly report. This is the cash reports, these reports this is a monthly report that has always been coming out monthly. And so I just want to make sure that, he said they'll be ready to start coming out monthly by next month.
They've already been coming up monthly.
No, we haven't been getting them monthly, but they're going to be coming out monthly.
They are going to be, then.
Yeah,
Why are
he's-
you bringing it up then?
Because I want to make sure that you guys are good with that, because he's redoing all of the stuff. So as he's got that in there, I want to make sure that the council is good and we're getting all of these reports.
Could I suggest that maybe that would be an item to discuss the reporting that you receive and the content and the formatting?
Once we get it?
Yeah, it's an opportunity for the council to review and to then maybe give its
At the
input.
first time that we get it that
Yeah,
first month?
yeah.
That's fine. Fine with that. I want to know if
Is
you guys are,
Is there consensus on that?
well, he's already going to bring it to us, so you want us to discuss it when he brings it to us if we're going to
Or-
continue to get it?
Or if it's, we
If
can
it
just
is up to
agendize
you.
it that way if it's already coming.
Yeah, we can discuss it when you bring it to us. Go ahead.
Would you guys be interested in doing a resolution in opposition of Measure 50. The gerrymandering bill. Measure 50.
When would that resolution come back? Would it come back on
It
the
would
next?
come back in 2 weeks to vote on.
In my opinion, I sort of just want to stay out of all of the things that are on the ballot.
Yeah, it can't come back later than that. Yes or no?
Not at this point. Sorry.
That's fine, you can say no. The rest of you?
I honestly don't know. I'm gonna say no.
I think the timing's tough, but I mean, we're a nonpartisan office, and so I struggle with getting involved in something that deals with partisan issues, so.
Feels like it's already a tit for tat thing.
Opposition 50? I mean, Measure 50?
Yeah, Measure 50 is a tit for tat thing.
I don't understanding what that, what do you mean?
Are you serious?
I don't know what you mean. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just don't know what you mean.
It's
Tit for
already a
tat with who?
situation between Newsom and Trump.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Not
Okay,
us.
I'm just like,
I'm saying
okay. So no.
that's
so no-
already a thing that
Okay,
I-
so no, all right. When we receive the money from the tribe, I think we should talk about adding officers with that, some of those funds. It was $480,000 a year to add the 3 officers back, which gets us up to 117. We're at 114 right now, so it gets us up to 117. And I want to know if we are amenable to at least putting it into this 2-year budget, that we will have those. And then, obviously, that pencils out for the 10-year, because it's plenty for that, but whatever that would be, do we want to talk about that? Bring that back when the money comes in?
I'm in favor of bringing when that money hits the general fund, of bringing it to council so that we can have a discussion about where
Because it could go
that's
anywhere.
best used,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it can go anywhere.
Okay. Then we could bring that up, whatever we all, okay. Anybody else?
So, no, you're good.
I mean, I'm hesitant to talk about adding more to the general fund, and the pressure of, we have not seen our sales tax report come in yet. I think when we did the budget, we understood this would put a lot of pressure if our sales taxes not come in at the growth and we're flat again. And so I think I would want to wait for some more items to see what our TOT tax and everything's
I am
coming back.
saying that once it comes in, that then we have a discussion about where it's best used in each of our opinions. Councilmember Audette has already voiced where it is she would prefer for
Oh,
it to
you know
go.
what yes, yeah, okay.
Where
I gave it
is-
away.
so
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
voiced where it
When it
is.
comes in, we'll.
So just
But
be for discussion.
I'm
that's-
saying
yeah,
I would
so.
like that to be a discussion that we're all having soon.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
That's-
So we'll
are you
bring
good
that
with
back.
So, yeah, when it comes
Yeah,
in.
when it
When it
is
comes
received,
in.
then we'll bring it back with some options.
All right, okay.
I have a question.
Are you good with that?
What is the reason that if a city council member decides or wants to bring something back for a discussion on an agenda, why do we need to have this voting here to bring that on the agenda? Is that a law or is that a policy?
No.
Because for me, it seems kind of weird that as an elected representative, one of us cannot bring something to even discussion.
Yeah, so that was a decision that was made by a prior council, and it's certainly something you'd have the ability to undo. I will say that, and I wasn't around at the time that the modification was made, but what I'm told is that the decision was made at that time to leave in the option for a council member to bring forward an item individually in the event, I think it's phrased as either emergency or urgency in the ordinance itself. So there was something that was left in. My understanding, and I know of these conversations having happened at some legislative bodies, is that every now and then you have a large amount of time that gets spent on proposals from one council member that may not have a lot of support, or things where there's a lot of council time taken up by items that might not have otherwise really warranted consideration. And that's usually the reason policies like this are adopted. That being said, I wasn't around when this was.
So this is not a law against that?
No.
Because this has, in last 9 months or 12 months, it's like a single city council member has to get permission from everybody else to bring it to discussion, whereas anybody else can bring it to an agenda. So this is something I can tell you, when I'm mayor, this is gonna change. But that's
Well, when
like,
you're mayor, you do have purview over the agenda.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. This policy, we need to really relook in the future, but this is not for discussion for today. Because I really don't understand if you want to bring something, like Mike, if you want to bring something to the discussion, why shouldn't you be allowed to bring that to discussion?
Yeah, and there was a mention of the mayor's powers. I will note some of this is actually in your ordinance. So if you do want to make a change, you might actually want to bring that as a council item for potential ordinance amendment.
When can we just have a workshop to go through the ordinances and council policies and make edits? When does that happen?
My item 12
Actually, you're
is also
going
a
to-
council policy that I would like.
Is there a council policy to not look at the council policies?
So,
Like, what's the council
yeah, you're
policy
actually
on
going to
that?
the city, Cal City meeting, and you can ask that question later, but a lot of this information is available online also, that how to make the online policies or ordinances. I don't think there is any separate,
Not how to. I'm just saying, like, to review and to see if we want to make some
Do you want
edits
to
to
do a
them.
workshop and?
I would love
do
a
it?
workshop. I'm all in on workshops.
Yeah, I mean, that's really council's prerogative. I don't think there's anything in the regular schedule.
There's nothing scheduled, but there are even some council policies we discussed this evening in fiscal impact that we could certainly clean up and update. Some have not been looked at since the mid-90s, but those council policies are still pretty flexible and usable. So
That's
I
the
would
future.
say maybe let staff look at it, and I know we have some notes on those types of things, and if you have a suggestion, I mean,
That's for
certainly like
future.
there's a lot of policies, so.
I actually do think next year, especially with a new, whoever the city manager is, it might be a good thing to review.
okay, that's for future, but I would like to, and as my request for the next council meeting discussion, I would again ask council to reconsider Vice Mayor Letau's proposal to bring that for discussion.
No.
That's fine. No. Mike?
To bring back the item that they already said no to?
Yes.
We're asking again. They
I'm
already
going,
said no.
it's my request
He
now.
is really.
I'm requesting now.
I
So-
like this tenacity.
So yes or no, Mike?
I'm,
Still no.
I'm just going to respect what they said because it's going to be the
How
same
about you?
2-2-1, so it's,
We're saying no,
so-
Paul.
I know, I'm asking again.
He's really trying.
This
I
is
like
my
it. He's
second-
really trying to get me. He's asking, what you're asking for is a discussion. About that resolution.
Yes.
Let me, because we already got into this sort of situation in the like rush to make a decision. What he is asking for is a resolution stating our intentions. You're asking to have a conversation about our intentions.
Exactly.
Correct?
Yes.
Yes, those are two very different
Yes,
things.
not a
If
resolution.
we brought back a discussion about our intentions, that wouldn't happen until, that wouldn't happen until the 21st about our intentions. And then
Yes.
we decide that we want to have a resolution that, I don't know that there's enough time for that sort
No,
of thing.
we don't
which is
need the
why it is
resolution.
that
we
I-
wouldn't be making a resolution at
No,
that
no
point.
resolution, we're just having a discussion.
But
would
if
be
you did
changing
make a
council
resolution, it would be past the vote.
No, we are
That's
not
what I'm
making a
asking.
resolution, I'm
Correct.
saying.
That's,
You're correct.
So it wouldn't
that's what
matter.
that's what I'm,
Yeah,
But
that's
we don't
what I'm
need to-
saying.
That's
That's
what
what
you're
you're saying.
Then a
You said
resolution's
it-
pointless.
I understood.
It would be more of a just changing.
Discussion.
We now shift into changing council policy.
my item 12 is also policy related.
Okay, we need a workshop. That's what you're telling me.
So it's slightly comical, but I would like to bring back an item about whether or not family members of council members could be allowed to sit on city committees or commissions. I had a member of the community ask me about whether there was a rule about that sort of thing. Obviously, there's a clear public trust issue that we have. And for fair practices and transparency, I'm wondering if we could entertain a conversation about creating a policy that says that members of this council cannot appoint family members to commissions
I
or.
thought there was nepotism rules.
So there is, it's tied to employment, not necessarily appointed position. So a non-compensated position, I don't have it in front of me, but I couldn't tell you if that is something that would fall in the existing one. That being said, I think Director Kibler is gone. But I do know that she's working right now on a revision of the nepotism policy and the adding a fraternization policy as part of that as well. So what we could do is we could fold that into that discussion.
Yeah,
and-
I would love that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I also just want to make one more comment in regards to policy. So staff currently is working on analyzing the council policies plus the city manager policies, and then some personnel policies, trying to reorganize them so they make a little more sense. And maybe when we bring some of those first reorganizations or revisions back, we could talk further about other considerations within those policies. So we'll bring them back, I think, as we can filter them in. I mean, it's going to take a little bit of time.
Is there a spouse you're talking about?
It actually was brought up to me because it's, someone asked based on the sales tax, that they were hypothetically like, could you appoint in the sales tax, and we each get to appoint somebody to sit on the review committee? And they said, could you hypothetically appoint your spouse, you're leaving in 2026, could you appoint your spouse to be the person who was going to be on the oversight committee? Is there a policy that doesn't allow for that? And I said, I don't know that there is a policy. I'm not sure that there has been a specific conflict, but I just feel like in effort of transparency and fair
I think
practices,
it'd be
we should
smart to just have it.
policy
Yeah.
that says that's
Just in
not allowed.
case somebody tried to do that.
Yeah, I don't know what somebody else is going to do.
My wife will never get on a commission, I just will
My
say
husband's
that
already
right
been on
now,
one and he's
so.
never doing it again.
Yeah, yeah. That's all, that's it. I have no other policies.
We are adjourned.